mom?
She's doing good.
I haven't seen her in a while. I see Dana when I go get my hair cut, but I haven't seen her in a while.
Yes. She what? She's doing good. Retirement. Is she retiring this year? She retired 2 years ago. Oh,
well, whose babies are she keeping? She's keeping someone.
Sorry, the other day. No, I wouldn't work too hard.
And your cousin Kate. Me too. She was sitting here.
It was a good job.
That's it. That would be me. Julie Haynes.
Yeah, I was hoping I could carry him to meet today with me, but it was confidential and stuff. How bad I wanted to carry him. Well, good.
We appreciate you taking him along.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
Well, I appreciate
I showed him a picture today of when Paige picked him and Jack up at school. He goes, "Where'd you get that?" I said, "Just two little babies." Well, I appreciate that. He's enjoying it. He's good. Hey, you. Hey, Rob. How you, man? Good to see you.
She did get it I think he's overseeing Lexington. How's Lauren? She just got
Here, we'll sit next to you.
Yeah,
Or we can scoot down. Rob won't bite. I know.
He doesn't bite hard. That's right.
You're 30. You don't swap it?
Natalie saw me text me. She goes, I'm on the beach. Do I have to come? I don't know.
FaceTime.
I mean, oh, she no, I should have told her. I said, you would rather be on the beach than.
How's your brother's doing? 10th. Okay. I hadn't seen Richie in probably 3 or 4 weeks. I usually try to go in there.
Harassing.
Buy a can or something and we talk for 45 minutes.
Well, he told me, maybe.
That's just what I always said. As long as you know where it's now they've got my brother's just around. He's got good kids and they're playing ball and soccer. Scott Street.
Lead us in a word of prayer, and Christine is going to do our pledge. Let us pray. Most kind of loving Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the many blessings bestowed upon us, Father. We thank you for this opportunity to come together and do the business of the city of Lexington, Lord. And I pray for a blessing upon this board. I pray that you grant them wisdom and discernment, and that everything that they do will be pleasing in your sight, Father. Father, people less fortunate, the sick and afflicted in our community, watch over us, guide us, direct us, forgive us where we fail you. For in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
mute your phone, turn it off, and thanks for it. All right, I'm going to order this regular monthly meeting of the mayor and city council on May 2024, 6 p.m.
Fred Ellis. Roger Lofton.
Here.
Tim Rhodes.
Here.
Jimmy White.
Here.
Gordon Wildridge. Gabe Williams.
Here.
Sandra Woods.
Item number 4, approval and correction of minutes of prior meetings. 4.1 is ordinance April 22nd, 2024. 4.2 is a special call meeting May 6th, 2024. 4.3 is a special call meeting on May 15th, 2024. If there's no corrections or additions, I'll entertain a motion before that. Motion does second. Any discussion? Alderman Fleur.
Fred Ellis. Roger Lofton. Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White. Gordon Wildridge. Gabe Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Woods.
Yes.
Passes. All right. Number 5, comments from the mayor. Only thing I'm going to comment tonight, we're glad to have everybody here. I wish that every meeting we had was this crowd. And I mean that sincerely. I've had 5 budget meetings and hardly anybody has been here at all. And I'm not having one or two, and I wish this room had been packed for all 5 meetings where you could hear all the stuff that actually went on in the discussions, but people weren't, and we're going to get caught up on the back end. One thing I would like to ask too tonight is try to keep it down. When the item comes up that you're about, I'll be glad to let anybody speak that wants to. I never turn anybody down from speaking. And appreciate y'all being here. We'll get into business. Okay, old business. Anybody on the board have any old business? Now we'll go to number 7, new business, 7.1, report on the application, water, and sewer.
Just gets up there ready for the minutes, but the water and sewer loans for the Tennessee Municipal Bond Fund have now closed and are fully funded. The water loan was $3.65 million, had an interest rate of 5.59% for 25 years, and the Crossbar Bank out of Dixon was the winner of that loan. And the sewer loan on page 10, $2 million, same interest rate, 5.239% for 25 years, and that's been funded also. And that is for the Tri-Star Bank out of Dixon as well.
Any questions, comments? As Cody said, this has to be read. No? Yeah. All right, 7.2, Justin, if you would, already discuss for gas, water, and wastewater.
So last month we had a little issue, we got it worked out. So this is 2 months combined, a total of $9,556. 24 renters, 14 owners.
I mean,
24 renters, 14 owners.
any questions? I haven't made a motion. Got a second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White. Gordon Wildridge. Gabe Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Woods.
Yes.
Fred Ellis.
Anybody have any questions for Justin while he's opposed? 7.3, discuss and approve. Okay, so 7.3, discuss and approve minutes, solid waste transportation disposal service.
It's an agreement with Public Services for $34 a ton. It's transporting their own debris, and after the anniversary of 1 year, it's a 5% increase, which our price per ton will go up to 5% to compensate for that.
Any questions for Casey? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
That's it. Any discussion? Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White.
Yes.
Gordon Wildridge.
Yes.
Gabe Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Woods. Fred Ellis. Roger Lofton.
7.4 discuss implementing separate utility board meetings. Alderman Williams, that's put that on the agenda.
Well, we used to do the utility boards, and usually don't take very long. In fact, I think it was confusing talking about the money for the utilities versus what we do in our general fund. So like, so it's go back to the utility boards separate from the city business.
If that, let's see, we have Board of Zoning Appeals, first one, we have Planning Commission, the second one, and then our board makes on the fourth, so I would assume you would say third one.
I'm going to take them out, I'm going to do it, if they want to do it. But it seems like the meetings are long, and I mean, the utility boards, put his act out to get it done. Now we're sitting here, we go through all this. That's one way we just discuss the city business. That's not a good opinion, that's really not just stating what I believe.
I'll open it up to the rest of the board for discussion.
Could you reverse it? I mean, still have them all on the same night and reverse it and do utility first and then the city second? I mean, could you do that?
Don't do anything we want to.
And just if utility takes longer.
I think when you talk about dollars and cents, I don't care if you reserve it or sharing it. When you talk about dollars and cents, like right here, we're really talking about $7 million. No one, that has to do with general fund and tax obligations that are going to utilities. Somebody said we're going to spend $2 million. And all I'm saying is utilities, it's ratepayers take care of it, we have extra rates to cover what we're going to do. And the city is based on taxes and sales taxes, things like that. Sometimes they overlap one another, and I think it's breaking apart. Just figuring out that breaking apart makes it clear what you discussed and what it's about. If you know what I'm doing, I'm just going to sit and y'all say.
That is the way we did it for a while. Correct. Years ago, we did utility night, and then we had regular board meeting, and then we went to workshops. And we had workshops, and then we went to Yes.
I like the idea of, even if you want to bring it back within the workshop. But we're looking at cutting time, the length of meetings on the primary meeting. You know, utilities is not really going to take up that much time one way or the other. But if we could have a workshop back where we can actually talk about it, hash it out, and actually have time to think and do your own research versus everything coming up on the Monday night and then you come around and vote on it, 20 minutes later. Me personally, I like time to sort of let it digest and do my own research, asking around, because a lot of things, it may be new, they don't have an answer for it, but then you still have to come around and vote on it. So if anything, I'll say bring workshops back and maybe have utilities on the first portion of the workshop now. But just a utility, I would be there from my perspective.
The one thing that I liked about the workshops, and again, y'all do whatever you want to, but what I liked about them is y'all presented the work that night from the department heads. You had all week to call the department head or go see them, discuss it. It also gave the public a whole week before we voted if they had questions and when they came back. That's kind of what I liked about the workshops. Y'all set the course of the ship. It's just my job to keep on course, so I'll do whatever y'all need to do. It's fine.
Well, I think they were set up in the right order. The workshop was to do that discussion and to have that week, like Fred said. But if we were in our workshop for 2 to 3 hours, that was fine. If it was 4 hours, that was fine. But that was to get everything together and to see what was happening. But that following week, we were back in there for the same 3 to 4 hours, hashing over what we had been over in the work session. So you didn't accomplish anything.
But that's an us fault.
That's what I'm saying. I know. I agree with that. If we could trim that back,
Yeah, the regular meeting, you should just come in and either get the consent agenda and motion made and seconded or not, and move on, so we can discuss it.
But that was,
Unless something else come up that you wasn't aware
This is
of.
the workshop you're talking about?
I like the workshop, and I don't know, you kind of, instead of read it, in the paper, and, you know, I guess it's all the time somebody reads it, whether they think it's a city in general, or whether it's utilities, different, people won't, don't understand the difference.
I'm not against doing the workshop again if we can make it work. It did not work last time, in my opinion, and I'm just gonna say.
But if it works right, we'd probably be more informed, we'd have more time.
It's more transparency, and it's more time to inform everybody.
And just get to that second meeting, knowing that you're not coming in here to have a meeting, alone, so you can put it off to the next month and discuss it again on the work session and again in the board meetings. I wasn't here then, but I came to it. And it was just redundant, and, you ought to be out of that regular meeting unless something comes up after the workshop, 30 minutes.
The only thing that got me, we was having items on the workshop, and nobody discussed it at all. But then we come to next week to vote, it's been 30 minutes an hour and something everyone discussed the week before.
That needs to happen, that's another problem.
But we can control that. If we go back to that, we can control that. Because
Who controls the workshop?
we do, and you can pull it back in and say,
We can try. I'll do whatever you do. But I need a motion in a second for where you're going to change it back.
is that something we want to vote on tonight, or think about it and then bring that back again next month? I'm just asking.
I'll do whatever you want to. So I will stay with the table.
I'll ask about utilities. That's all I asked about.
I would say take, not because we got some figures. I'll say take.
I got a motion, any discussion, we'll table it until the next meeting.
Jimmy White.
Yeah.
Gordon Wilson.
Yes.
Gabe Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Wood.
Yes.
Fred Ellis. Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
I will make a note. Thank you. All right, 7.5, discuss creating committees and committee chairs. All moved.
Help me get back to what we were talking about the utility meeting, and I can do that, and I'll get paid for it.
It's on there, so we can discuss it. You'll take leave?
Yes.
You want to motion to take? Somebody will make that. Discussion, we're taking this in.
Gordon Wilson. Gabe Williams. Sandra Wood. Fred Ellis. Roger Lofton. Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White.
Okay, 7.6, let's discuss LES manager position. Alderman Jones, would ask me to put that in.
I had asked to put this on. I don't know if anybody has ever been in a situation where somebody leaves and there's an open position at the top. Sometimes, in my opinion, if that position stays open, start the discussion on what we're going to do as far as top leadership within the electric system or the utilities as a whole. Everybody has an opinion. What I would like to see is a sort of pseudo combining of the utility systems with the electric systems with one person over both, and then a manager, general manager, or whatever name that you want to use to call it, as a person who is over both systems. Okay? So, that's my thought. So, any other things?
That would be an extra salary position.
It would not be an extra.
who would fund it? Would you split it with the utilities, the
You
LES?
would split it three ways between the LES, gas, and water, because that person would have the ultimate responsibility for all three of those. And then you would have for lack of better words, a general manager over gas and water, general manager over LES, and they all answer to one person. It's a lot of responsibility, but it's no different when you look at other systems that have multiple utilities within their system. They typically have one person who goes them. And we actually have somebody already within our system who has performed in a similar situation already within JDA. You know, JDA has a system that is called the Vault, basically the control room for their entire system from internet, water, cable, and anything that they have their hands in is ran from. That is a lot of responsibility. And if we have somebody with that type of experience and knowledge, I don't see why we're not using that, or using that experience and knowledge for our advantage.
So would you still have a general manager over LES?
You can call it general manager, you can call it a manager, but somebody who runs the day-to-day operations.
It would be another position. Try to understand that today we have a general manager temporary, we have a general manager acting, and we have a general manager over water and gas.
Yes.
So,
It would be another position.
But it would be funded out of the electric system.
It would be funded by all three.
We have, but I'm saying the additional monies.
Yeah. It would not, none of it would come from the general manager. Nothing would come that would be here. It would sort of be like what we did with the fire department, police department. We took part of those salaries. So you had two salaries that were up here, and you basically bumped up this salary and get away with the other salary. So as a net, it's still a win, or it's less money.
but you only one person to do that.
But you had only one person. But you still have managers within, or majors, whatever, within the fire and police department. So it's just semantics as far as what you call it.
It might not be an extra employee if you don't have an assistant.
But today we hired the department as individual board.
Yes.
So in your scenario, Fred, you're saying we would
Whoever that person is,
would hire
is who we would hire, or who we would have ultimate responsibility for, or who would have ultimate responsibility to come to us. And then that person hires, fires, promotes, whatever, his people as he sees fit. We would not be operating our hands in his day-to-day operations of his department. We hold him responsible for everything.
I think, in my opinion, we need a general manager sooner than later. They don't need to sit over there and operate without somebody in that position. There's some hirings that need to be made, I'm sure. And if we're talking about having a general manager either way, that one needs to be filled. On the other, I could be open to that, but I would want to know what benefit. If we're going to do something like that, it needs to better service, and by combining everything or saving money. I'd like to see a plan come from whomever and show me what the benefits are going to be to do that.
All right, so thinking like that, the benefits of it. Whenever you combine or do anything, you never want to exclude or put anybody out. But if you have two departments who have overlapping services, as people retire, phase out, move on, you don't need two office managers, you don't need two of most things. You can cross-train. You have a customer service person leave. You have these other customer service that came over from the other system. There are ways that cost savings, and it would be on whoever the head person is to find those cost savings. I can see some myself, but I'm not running that department day to day. Whoever that person is that we choose should have the experience and knowledge and the know-how to find the savings and come back and present to us, hey, here's how I can save money over 6 months, 12 months, the next 5 years, and lay out that plan to us. I'm not saying we make a motion to vote on that person tonight because, hey, we need to give that person an opportunity to see if they really want it, to see what their vision is. You know, it's sort of like when we had interviews when the public works director was open. We interviewed whoever internally that wants it, because this is an internal thing. And we just decide, we see. But we should move forward with that rather sooner than later.
Yeah, I understand that, but I just rather see something to the benefit before we put somebody in that position. So if you have somebody in mind.
All right, so here's my thing. The person I have in mind is Justin Rose. And the reason I say Justin, I hope you don't mind, but the reason is the CEO of AGA, before he retired, a guy named Jim Furrow. Before Justin came to our system, maybe right after, but Jim and I, for years, did trouble soccer together our kids. GA is a pretty big system. I called him and asked him about Justin, and he gave me a lot of background on Justin and said that Lexington would be almost crazy if a position or something like this came available or open not to consider Justin for it. And I've had that in my mind for well over a year, that should it ever come up or available, that we actually have somebody who was already qualified, already have all the certifications, already has the experience. And so that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, well, if I'm sure then Justin should come up with a plan before we decide whether or not to implement that position, to show us what the benefits would be,
organizational charge,
how we have better service, what would we combine,
yes,
and how long you think that would take place, and how much money we're saving.
I have no problem with that.
So I would need to see that twice.
But do we want to wait another month before we ask them to bring that?
Well, that's whatever for it, but I just know that, either way, if we're going to do a general manager, somebody needs to be in charge. And I know we got an interim, but it's hard to be in that position because I've been in one similar, to make decisions down the road if you don't know you're going to be the person.
Exactly. So, he can email. I mean, this is something that can be done through email. We don't necessarily need a meeting. And we can move forward through, like, hey, here's my plan, here's my thoughts, here's the layout, here's my vision. And I think all of us are wise enough to be able to look at somebody's vision and to say, hey, yes, this is that person, no, this is not that person.
We're looking at one vision.
322.
3.
Are they within the city?
We have to be.
Sure. But as a department head, the board is the one who make the final decision on who it is. But they're gonna have to. That's what I said.
We're gonna interview, we do these things. I feel fair that we should talk to the employees and see how they feel about this. At the same time, not just have a closed system, there might be somebody out there that's the same way, just, there may be somebody out there just exactly will do the same thing as you. What I'm saying is,
But we do it internally.
yeah, we do it internally first. So it's good way to do it, I don't fit up. That's all I'm asking.
If we don't find a suitable internal candidate.
But your mind pretty much made up.
I don't know why, yes it is. I mean, yeah,
My question is, you're gonna post it out there, anybody who's applying for it?
Internally.
That's what you gotta do, put it on there.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, that's what I said all along, internal candidate. And if we don't find an internal candidate, then if this board so chooses to open it up, to the public, as you said earlier, you know, that's this board's decision. But right now,
Is there a requirement, when I say requirement, certain requirements that you would feel this candidate would have to have? And I don't know if it would be, and have to look at whatever the job description would call for somebody to do this job, or if they would be on the job, to be able to do it and make a wise decision on anything in regards to what it is.
we don't have a charge of it, put out a job description. We don't.
HR being who?
Right. I don't have should I Google it and get a job description? Yes. Do I have the knowledge to sit down and write a job description for a director, general manager, CEO, president, or whatever of the electric system? No. Could I do it? Pretty much. Because you can find anything now on Google or ChatGPT. You can find this information. So that portion of it, to me, is just easily done. I understand we need to, instead of leaving Mr. Jones in limbo, Mr. Rose in limbo, and whoever internally wants to apply for it, they can. When I said about Justin, that is Fred's opinion. That's just that's not anybody else's on this board, that's mine. But I got mine from the CEO of JDA, who was his boss at the time. So that's just why, as Ms. Wood said, my mind is sort of made up, but I'm always open. If something comes along that makes more sense, I am not closed-minded.
I'll add this. I am all for the future and progress of our community, but with that said, I have to say our electric system runs great. You know, from an operational standpoint, it's hard to knock anything that's happening. And to me, to have somebody new, Justin or anybody else, come in and change the operation, I would be concerned. Now, with that said, if you kept the operation going the same way, we wanted to hire a position that was over multiple departments that are under the city umbrella that are, you know, thinking about technology and thinking about efficiencies, that's worth consideration. But I would be very concerned to think we put somebody new over a system that is going to change or restructure the operation that is in great shape. And I'll add too, we're in the middle of adding broadband to that umbrella, which is a brand new venture for all of us. So with that said, you know, you've got a lot of moving parts right now that with the experience of Mr. Jones and a lot of the people at LES, I mean, they've been preparing for this for quite some time. So with that said, that would be a concern of mine. I mean, again, progress for our future and setting the umbrella up properly, I agree with, but changing the direct operation or the, you know, again, we got a lot of good long-term employees, a lot of long-term employees at this level. So we've got a lot of change going on already. So to create more unrest during a time where I've been hearing good things about the operation and the structure of it. So that would just be a concern of mine for right now. But your idea about the big picture and the umbrella, because they all are under the city, I would be open to that, but not from a direct management standpoint, to where we have a new person that tells multiple departments what they have to. It's kind of like us as a board. We hire and fire the department head, but we aren't involved in the day-to-day operations. So if you have a position that maybe assisted with hiring and firing the department heads and guidance and budgets and that type of thing, that's one thing. But for me as an alderman to tell any of our department heads what needs to happen from an operational standpoint, I don't have that knowledge or time to be involved, whereas our department heads do. So that would be kind of a big picture thought for myself.
And as with anything, everybody has their opinions, everybody has their pros and cons to all of it. But unfortunately, this is not something that can be talked about in private. It has to be talked about in public. And it's not like we like to air dirty laundry or whatever you say in public, but this is something that we need to figure out sooner than later. Not anything negative against Mr. Jones, but you're talking about having somebody new in management. Mr. Jones is brand new in his position. Now, he is familiar with the system, but as far as being a manager, dealing with the public, dealing with the board, he is new to that also. So you got this knowledge, but you don't have this knowledge. You got somebody who has this knowledge, but not this knowledge. So it's really, at the end of the day, what do we as a board want?
I'm going to step in here. In 2012, when we had the kerfuffle with LES, and we had managers leaving, we as a board moved manager Jeff Graves, who since retired, Manager Graves. We moved him from his position, his engineer position, into the manager position. He did a great job. I think Brad deserves that same opportunity because Jeff knew nothing about the management part of it either. And he evolved and did well. And I have no doubt that Brad would not do the same thing, and that's my opinion.
Well, I think even if you do the director's thing, we need to get a manager in place, and the director, should we go that direction, we'll know who he's going to have to work with. That'd be one thing that would have to happen anyway. And I know in talking with Brad, there are moves that need to be made over there that it hasn't made because you don't want to put somebody somewhere and then something happens and that's not where it stays if something changes.
The last big thing I'll say, make sure I'm clear on the street, so with what you're proposing though, the board would not be the one to hire the manager of Lexington. It would be hiring a director or some other whatever title that would be now over the electric system and gas water. So the board would no longer have control of the managers of those two departments. It would only be
It's sort of like the board not having control of who the captain and the major and the fire and water is. That's all controlled by whoever is over that department.
So we hire the chief of
Correct.
police fire.
And we would hire and fire whoever is ultimate person with that.
I think you can still, from the board side, hire and fire whether they're under direction or not, if you so choose. I think that could go either way, but I think it would be reasonable to hire.
I'm not for creating annual positions. I'm not for hiring one more warm soul body. That's why we're sitting up here tonight talking about tax increases.
So we need to know if he wants to continue with the job. You know, it sounds like, well, Brad, I'm going to ask you right now, but, you know, hate to do it in this situation, but we're doing a lot of talking here and you're involved in it, you know.
I mean, I would be glad to be the manager of the electric system if that's what the board so chooses. I don't have any problem with that. I've been getting my feet wet for the past 3 or 4 months, and, you know, it was a little bit chaotic the first few weeks, but, you know, kind of being thrown to the fire, that was probably to be expected. But as time goes on, the dust settles a little more, you kind of get used to it, and you learn to adapt to the situation you're in. And over time, I feel more comfortable now than I did when I first started. I'd be glad to do it. That's what the board chooses.
So what are your thoughts on being a part of a bigger system, the gas and water?
My concern with that is I think the general manager of whatever department should have the responsibility to hire the employees that are under him. Or, I think if somebody hires the employees for me at Lexington Electric, if there's a bad hire that was made, then ultimately I'm the one that's going to have to deal with that person. Whether if I've made the hire, then, that's on me.
But as the manager of the electric system, and say there was a manager of the gas, that's the person who would hire their department people. Whoever this person is up here would not do your day-to-day job of hiring and firing. That person would not. The only person that you have to do is this person. You running the electric system, nothing would change for you. It's just that there's a person who manages. It's almost like having an authority where there's one person who's over all of it, and there's multiple heads in that authority. You would just have yours would be electric, Ryder's would be gas, Jimmy's would be water, and Tim would be over all of you. That is how I'm looking at it. Because initially, would it be a lot of people and some overlap? Absolutely. But when you have 3 departments that have 3 of the same people, eventually you could whittle down some of that head count and become a lot more efficient than everybody having their own individual thing. We're looking at cost savings, you're looking at ratepayer savings. You're paying for 3 different audits. You're paying for 3 different engineers. You would still have those engineers, but your engineer would be here for electric. Your engineer would be here for water. Your engineers would be here for gas. You're all working together because historically everybody knows that all the departments, especially electric, has been separate. Even though the departments say they've been separate, this is an opportunity for us to bring everybody together long term. I see the benefit to the city. I see the benefit to the system.
You ready? I think the broadband position we're on, where we going? And which town is electric system put into this thing? And we're in the infancy of making. Disagree with Fred, but we might like to just continuity at this point. Competing with authority for the way to complete this project. And I hate to see a $50 million project be unheard over somebody in each department squabbling back and forth. And I can see contention between all the departments over that. It won't be having to do with the managers. But we know the balance board knows how much attention you have sometimes with departments. This is we can afford it.
So the best thing to do is keep them separate versus bring them together.
Well, we have, you can on board on this, that we have distinction, okay? Put them together, does that reduce the distinction or does it make it better? I don't know. I have no interest in it whatsoever. But what I'm worried about is $50 million that we have obligated ourselves to spend for broadband. Mr. Jones has been with this thing since it started. He's been kept abreast, he works on it all the time. I ain't saying he just could jump up to speed and get it. But if there is a glitch and we don't make it, we're gonna have to pay that $25 million because we gotta make that deadline and get done. And I didn't see anything interrupt that between now and what we got less than a year left.
But you're making the assumption that somebody's gonna come in and throw a monkey wrench into the entire system.
I have to make an assumption. So that, when you change, I don't care if it's president, I don't care if it's a mayor, I don't care who it is, when you change ownership, there is dissension because everybody has their own opinion on what goes on. And I'm like Sanders, when it's running smooth and it's working, you need to let it operate. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you know where I stand. You know, everybody's got their opinions. I'm not changing mine, but I have sat here and heard everybody on this board make the comments about how they would like to see all of the departments work better, more cohesive as a group. The opportunity comes along, and we're looking at every reason how to keep things as status quo. And if that is what the decision is, then I don't think anybody, should that bump show up in the road later on down the line, you know what? Well, that's the way we've always done it. We just move on. I mean, I understand the concerns of making some changes, but as far as the day-to-day operations of all the departments, nothing changes. Nothing changes. It's just that you're bringing all the departments together. Because the same thing in the past, one of the things that was mentioned was making it a energy authority. It is the same difference. All of them up under one roof. Because an energy authority is not just a electric system. You can have all utilities up under it. Am I correct or wrong? And authority.
You can have energy authority. Basically, the energy authority. And I talked to TVA the other time about it. And what I talked to him about was, you don't want to do that. Cookie loose. You got a little problem, you move it over here. You got a little problem over here, you move it over there. And he laughed and looked at me. I said, you know what I'm telling you? That's what happened to JEA down there when they had the state had to come in and give them money to get it out of it. They like to go on. Everybody knows that. That's a plain fact. So, my main concern right now, I don't care if it's Brad, I don't care if it's Justin. My main concern is $25 million is at the state. And if I sit here and I voted to do that, and it goes down to 2, I'm gonna be mad as all get out. Because I'll get blamed for what happened because we decided to make a wholesale change. And that's my position.
Well, to me, I was not at the meeting at TVA, so I apologize if I say something offline of what they said correctly. But, I'll agree with it. I've had some concerns over the years about how our departments work together and some efficiencies that we could gain from that we don't. But after hearing what got said about TVA making statements about when we could share equipment and when we could do things, I really do think everybody here heard that. So all the department heads heard that. Mr. Jones heard that. So with that said, I think that's going to by itself clear up a lot of the concerns that I've had and others have had over the years about departments not working together. So with all our department heads here in the statement from TVA, I don't think the TVA can help their crutch as much as they have been over the years. So I'm for giving that a chance based on what I heard the outcome of that meeting. But back to Fred, I'll admit I've had some concerns that he's bringing up and some thoughts about what he's bringing up over the years myself. I've heard about JEA, and that is a very, very valid proposal when done right. But again, every system is different. And LES as a whole, historically, from a service standpoint to our community, I mean, it's barred up. I mean, that is by far our best operating department. I'm not to cut down anybody else in any other departments, but that is a very essential department that's got a lot of history, and it's a unique outfit. It's a unique operation because I've heard that said before. Very few cities across the state or the country, for that matter, have set up like LES. So unless we were going to change the structure of it totally, we're going to operate the way we always have. And I'm kind of like Gordon. We've got a lot of things going right now. It's kind of hard for me not to at least give that a chance to continue as it's going, especially with hearing the comments from TVA. So, but I do understand where you're coming from, Fred. I'm not discounting that totally, but I've had the same thoughts. But I do think Brad has done a great job so far. I've heard nothing but good feedback from employees. I hope employees have heard some of the comments over the years of board members and others that have made, and I think there's ways that our department heads can work together, and I think they will. But a lot of that will get better. And you hear TV's comments, I got a lot of hope that will, but still do the good things that they've always done.
The director position should be go better direction. Doesn't have to be this month, next month, it's 6 months from now. It can be when we're ready to do it, when the broadband is changed, if we decide to go that direction, it may not be. And with that, I'm gonna go, you said something about working together, and I've been there. I don't always like the way the electric system worked with some of us, and I'm sure the electric system didn't like the way the police department worked with some of the other departments. So it's just, two different jobs, and it's just human beings being human beings. So, that we had, we've done a good job, we made recommendations. I'm big on that. I'm big on, in the department if we can. And so with that, I make the motion for Brad Dillon.
Motion is second. I'll open it up for discussion. Any discussion?
Is there any terms to the offer, salaries or terms of the contract? Or
there's a salary survey, so that's,
Yes.
whatever it is, I don't know how to look at it, but whatever it calls for it to be.
Seems to be running smooth. That's every block. Even different. You let storms come up.
Like I say, I'm not opposed to looking at the director, but I just know somebody needs to be in charge, and they need to know they're in charge where they can be held accountable for what's getting done or not getting done, hiring and putting people in place. And so I'm open to the director down the line, but I think they need somebody in charge and not have to wait till next month or 2 months, more months down the road. It calls for us to hire a general manager anyway. If you get a director, then he knows what he's got sitting there. If you don't want to work with Brad Jones, then I guess it's something different job.
And I also want to add this, I don't know what exactly Mr. Jones' interim manager is making. We had an experienced manager that had been there for how many years? So, just because the same salary is not always the same, I do think, I'm for your recommendation, but I think we need to, before an official offer is made from a salary standpoint, we need to at least know what the salary survey says and make sure we're not offering the same thing to a 1-year manager as we would to a.
You would be paying whatever that salary says it is for a 1-year manager. Or less, that's what he is.
That's what I'm
He's
saying.
been moved there. You don't want to pay for 20 years, he hasn't been there.
But still the start.
And that's not the way this side of the house is working with the raises anymore.
No, there's a starting
anyway.
There's a starting amount.
We can't use that salary survey because then you would only have one person in the entire department who is using that survey. Because they use the same surveys around the city. Is that not correct?
Yes, they did. By how long you were in the position? They just moved, in my understanding, they moved, if you've been there 10 years, they moved that survey numbers up to 10 years in North. But Mr. Jones has 0 years. He's at the number one step, whatever that is. And it's on the paper, whatever it is. Is there whatever that first year, 1 year?
Quick survey, the one the city did or the one that
the one that the city of the electric system went by whenever they did their adjustments.
Yes. I'm not saying that.
You have to ask Brad for this.
It'll have to be that because the way the other department heads were paid. He'll be making less than they were when he was. When you salary.
And he may can tell you what that is. I don't know.
Do you have a copy of the salary survey for?
We have a copy. I haven't seen it, but it would be with our accounting department.
Ray making less position than what the salary.
Yeah.
We have to set that. He couldn't raise his own.
Yes.
And we never said anything.
So that's all I'm doing.
And nobody ever brought us the numbers. But whatever the numbers are, is what we need to be paying. Whatever the beginning pay is for a man.
I agree, and I don't know. I'm just saying we need to, I agree with your recommendation, but with that said, to me, we need to know what the numbers are going to be that's going to be offered before, other than tonight, because I don't know those. I think we need to all agree on that before we make an official offer. But with that said, to me, we could vote to move that direction.
You should be paid what the job supposed to pay. That's it.
I don't know if that's detailed. It could be. That's all I'm saying. I don't know.
Where's it at? I'm not. There is somewhere, I know. So I agree we need to find out, but I also agree that, you know, he needs to pay. You don't, all the rest of them over there got a big rate. Big. So if you don't give him, he'll be unemployed. You don't use that salary thing, yes, you will.
Could be. I don't know. Exactly what Gordon said, that position was under before. So I just don't know that we have the numbers for sure. We may. I don't know.
Well, I know we have to serve it.
I thought we had that survey, but I can't.
Whatever it is on file is what it is.
Because it only got you raised salary.
$164,000.
You know, and what if we go to, we just never.
That law under, because Jeff wasn't taking that, he's still getting what he had.
It can be pending, you know, want to make it pending that we agree on.
But Jeff is not the same. Jeff is not gonna do the same as it is. Jeff had 10 years.
I don't know what years were.
But there's like 25 steps. He's at step one. Whatever step one is.
See, I think that's for the one that we use for the city had 25 stuff. I don't know if the Lexington had 25.
Jeff surveyed what the record systems compatible and I would, they would give him. He left his off intentionally because he said it's up to us to decide what it will be.
Right.
To put on that survey what it should be. And he said, whatever the board decides is what I will do, and that's the way it was left. But then, he left, and that was never decided.
This salary is $121,000.
All right, I got a motion. And a second. Well, if somebody wants to amend that motion, you can, or the motion on the floor is hiring, and I assume that the favorite salary survey. So is that what you said, Ron? Is that your intention?
Step one of the salary
All
survey.
right, motion, and I have a second, step on salary survey. If somebody wants to make a motion to amend the motion, they can. If not, I'll fix a call for the room. Call for it. Thank you.
Kate Williams,
Based on the step, if it is there. So, yes.
Sandra Wood,
Yes.
Fred Ellis, Roger Lofton,
Yes.
Tim Rhodes,
Yes.
Jimmy White,
Yes.
Gordon Levitt,
All right, let's move on to the next one. If Brad sends out
All right, so just a quick update on the broadband. As of today, we're at 945 LexNet customers that are connected to our service. I anticipate we'll probably hit 1,000 by either the end of this week or early next week. So that'll be a good milestone for us. We'll have probably a photo with whoever decides, or whoever is the 1,000th customer, and probably do something in the paper or something like that. So that'll be something to look out for. Of course, the main line construction on the Sand Ridge OLT service area, that is completely finished, and all cabinets are opened up for sales there. I think I made that comment last meeting too. Right now, we're still continuing to open up sales out of the West Lexington OLT. So I don't know if y'all been keeping up on Facebook or not, but we're pretty much right here in the middle of the city of Lexington opening up cabinets. We'll continue to work through that area too. We should be completely finished with the West Lexington OLT for opening up those sales by the end of June. And then we will start opening up the North Lexington territory end of June, 1st of July. So we'll move on to North Lexington after we finish West Lexington. So right now our splicing contractors, they're primarily working out of North Lexington and Chesterfield. So all the boots on the ground guys you're seeing in and around Lexington, those are your splicers, and they're in the North Lexington area and out east towards Chesterfield. The main line, the guys hanging the cable in the air, they're working in Chesterfield and Montgomery. So they kind of stay out ahead, and then the splicing contractors come in behind them. They ride their coattails, more or less, behind them. So that's where the boots on the ground guys are. That's a quick update. So if anybody has any questions about how everything's going or anything like that, I'll be glad to try to help answer.
Same question I always ask. Are we on our timeline or what we need to do?
Yes, we're in good shape on the timeline. Ahead of schedule.
Can I ask this, since we've got a bunch of city school system representatives, are they on the system?
There's actually been discussions internally. We were approached by it was a competitor to NA actually, about getting the school system, Henderson County schools and the city schools on a ring service. Basically, you have one internet service location, and then from that service that they go through our fiber to all the school systems, to all the individual schools, and serve them. So there's talks being discussed about serving the schools.
So even though Haywood is in the zone of he can be hooked up today, correct?
Yeah, the area of Haywood is open for sales, but I'm sure they're probably on some kind of contract with whatever they're using right now. So, it'll be a kind of more of a long-term thing, but there's been some discussions about next steps potentially. So we'll work with them on that.
Y'all should be more about staffing, maybe you'll leave staffing.
Yeah, I've been in talks with Brent Barnine about that on and off, and it's kind of a timing thing. We're trying to figure out when the right time to actually do that. We don't want to just hire one or two people and them just kind of sit on their hands and not have anything really to do. There's a big learning curve. Whoever comes in next, it would be good for them to gain the exposure of the whole deployment process and how everything was, installed from a construction standpoint. But at the same time, they need to actually have something that they can do productive and, basically earn their keep more or less. So we're discussing on when the right timing for that would be. And I think it's just a little bit too early right now. It'll probably be a few months or so before we seriously consider it.
Not the paperwork on the rents. Who's having that?
Paperwork on the rents?
On the rents.
Grants. Casey's down West Tennessee. She does all that for us. We basically send her everything, and then she compiles it into a format that the state needs, and then sends it to the state. There was a little hiccup in the early stages on getting everything sent in a timely manner, but those things have been ironed out and are working better now. She's doing a better job now.
Going back to the money thing, so on the money trail, we're good, everything's going to stay good.
Yeah, we're in a good rhythm now with it. Like I said, in the early stages, it kind of got delayed a little more than it should have, but we seem to be a lot more caught up, and we're kind of in a groove of getting them submitted on a routine basis to the state. So I think it's working out there too.
Anybody else have any questions for Alderman? All right, now we go into our next, just stand out and let you introduce. Our next is 7.8, discuss for first reading ordinance, adopt LES local rate adjustment.
Yeah, so I brought Chris Mitchell here to help me present the rate adjustment. Chris works with us. He's worked with us for several years, I guess. He reviews our financials routinely, and he works with other utilities across the valley as well. And he analyzes, their financial standings and be sure that everybody's in good financial standing and good health, So the reason we're bringing this up today is because TVA's wholesale rate is going up by 5.25%. That begins October 1st of this year. So in order for us to have a rate adjustment to match that or to compensate that, we need to have a second reading approved by the June meeting for it to go into place by October. So that's the timing, how it's all working out for this meeting.
But I'll let you, kind of take it.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I was Herbert. I've been with you for several years, and I spoke to you pre-COVID. It's been a while. So there's 153, they're called local power companies, PCs, and you're one of 153 that TVA serves. I served 102. I've been doing this for 16 years. I'm a ex-TVA executive, and I retired and I started a consulting company, and that's what I do. So I'll start this by saying that I'm not here to recommend something that's fixing a problem. You haven't made an error. We're not fixing a problem. We're addressing things that are happening in the industry and the environment. And my recommendation today is to address those external issues, right? So I have three categories of those 102. I will tell you, you're in the top section, right? And it's on screen and it's in the handout. So you're in the top section, meaning I would give you a letter grade A. Again, we're not fixing a problem. But there are some in the middle, and there's a few that are failing. The ones in the middle, this conversation would be much more about, well, we need to address a particular issue, and we have a detailed discussion about that. The ones that are failing, it's a very hard conversation, and it's basically saying, how do we try to survive and get to the next phase? There are some in that situation. So again, the context of everything is how to keep you in this top category, right? So with that, I am going to see here. Does this work?
You can use that.
Okay, thank you. So you're a local power company that buys all your electricity from TVA, and then it passes, and their cost passes through to your customers. And we're going to talk about their generation and the capacity and some issues that they're going through in the next slide or two. Right? Then I'm going to talk about your rates. And we did one this last October, and that's because of a pandemic credit that had been put in place, and the credit went away, so you replaced it with a small rate increase. You did that action last year. I am suggesting, because O&M cost is going up, everyone's experiencing inflation, and in your area, you're having high inflation within the utilities also. So I'm suggesting a 2% this year to offset the O&M increases. Then we're going to do a quick review of sales and capital and your cash flows and your current situation, which is all very healthy, right? So you do have choice. I'm going to talk about TVA for a few minutes. So again, they basically, they have the generation and the excess that they need to import from outside. So if you look at the line on the bottom, you can see that the fuel cost component within the rate is the coal and the nuclear and the cost of operation. That's passed on a monthly basis and it changes. And you can see over a long period of time it was on the downward slope. They were, during that time period, TVA were doing small rate increases, and basically the overall rate was staying about the same. Again, offsetting the decline was with base increases. Then we get to COVID, and that's the dip, and the economy kind of stalled out, and they reduced some generation through retirement of some coal plants and so on. And then we have the economy got stimulated through government actions, and I'm going to say it's both parties, right? Both presidents had their programs, and a lot of it, economy stimulation, and it's still going on. There's still a lot of money. You're doing grants. I heard you talk about it. You know, grant money is still flowing. So that is still coming in, and we have a lot of growth. So during that growth period of time, we have inflation. You'll see the first spike in 2022. That is the first time that I will say that we recognize that there's capacity constraint. A nuclear plant had an outage that was 1 month longer than what was expected, and they had to buy from the market. It was during the middle of summer, and you had very high bills in a 2 to 3 month period because it was passed down to the residential commercial customers. And then we have the second little spike, and that is in 2023, and that was the real blackouts. That was a winter storm event that was regional, and it showed that they were stressed on capacity. And we have the third spike, and that is this last January, no real blackout, but we did have to buy from the outside and import in. So the point of this discussion is there are many things outside of your control. Right? The overall pass-through, the capacity itself, and I'm a supporter of TVA and the decisions. I would challenge that if either of us or the group of us were in charge of TVA, we wouldn't be doing this significantly different. So they are taking actions to get capacity. So with that, they did a 4.5% increase in the power cost last October, and they're doing a 5.25%, probably isn't approved yet, but it's likely to be in August, but 5.25% this October. So that will happen, I predict. It will automatically flow through to your customers. I'm going to get a little technical. This background is important because it's going to build to the case of you having another action I'm going to suggest. So bear with me for a minute. So if you remove the stack bar of the cost of that you're paying TVA is the base rate. That base rate is 5.25%. In addition to that is fuel cost. That flows through on a monthly basis. Then you have a distributor adder that pays the salaries, and that for your distribution system. Right? So you have those three components. This bottom piece is going to 5.25%. If you look at the total percentage of impact, it's going to be about 3.25% to your residential and your commercial customers, because there's a percentage of the total. This piece going up 5.25%. So without any action, you're going to have about a 3.25% come rounding impact to your customers. You had a similar one last year. That's groundwork. Now I'm going to go into your local action, which is the piece up here that addresses your own. So 3.25 is going to happen. Any questions about that? Happens to your neighbors, happens across the valley. And that's so they can build capacity. And they have inflation also. Okay? Next slide. What I'm suggesting is you need a 2% rate increase. I'm on page 4. And I suggest 950,000 is to address that one cost increases. I'm going to build it back. So I'm telling you up front what I'm suggesting, and I'm going to build why. How it's spread is even across the classes. So you have residential, GSA 1, 2, 3, and outdoor lighting. The outdoor lighting is not the backyards of people's houses. It is athletic fields and the traffic signals and the crosswalks signals. That's what's meant by the LF schedule. So the residential is obvious. It's homes. GSA 1 is small businesses or their second people in the house. GSA 2 is size businesses. So you raise the rate to pay, and I heard before, and it was stated correctly, this is not tax based. This is not general fund. This is the utility budget, right? Now, in the residential GSA 1, you notice it's $2.15 as a fixed charge. And in the next slide, I describe that on the left-hand side on page 5 are the current rates. So you can see you're at 1556, and you got energy below it, and you got the 3 seasons. Then on the right-hand side, I've added the $2.15, and I've added a little bit of energy, and the result is that you get 2% for the average usage, or for a customer, it's 1,031 kWh is the average for your customers' usage. So they will get 2%. Because more of it's being put on the fixed component than the variable, you have a little bit higher percentage increase for a low volume person home than you do a high volume. So my opinion of that is we cannot make a generalization that the people with low volume are certain economic or, it's not because someone has a small house or a large house. It depends how long you're in the house. It depends on if it's insulated. It's a very complex, who is it impacting more from a demographics perspective, right? Because you will be surprised some homes that you think are very efficient are not, and so on. But it is fact, low volume will have a slightly higher percentage increase than high volume. I'm going to pause for a lot of math at you. Any question? This is the standard format that I suggested.
So when you say a flat percent, you said all
average is 2%.
You mentioned all fields, for example. Those
2%.
Those are housed in the city of Lexington. So
yes, 2% on the 2% is a small business.
Our tax-based revenue has to pay for that. So indirectly, our citizens are paying for that.
In that case, it is customer is a municipal customer.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's a different rate, or it's not?
It is a different rate.
Okay. But the increase is going to be
it's 2%.
It's going to be the same. So could we choose to not do that?
You could choose to not do that. And then you would come back to me and say, eliminate that impact because you don't want it on the city budget, and I would spread it to the other classes.
So to me, with the city owning the electric system, that would make a lot of sense. We would spread it out because that would be saving city residents.
That is the decision we want. I just need the input. Right. Good question. I can tell you understand the math. Yes. That's my goal. Because you're the decision maker. Okay, other questions on how it's done? I'm going to repeat again. Each class is treated the same, 2%. So commercial customer, fine, all right. And residents are all 2%. If you choose to say, I don't want it even, I gladly change it. Okay, I'm going to move on. Compare you to others. So this is a sensitive information. That's the white boxes around your neighbors. So this is your district, and I've got a little blue star identifying where you're at, and you can see your development. So this is average residential usage, residential rates, and you can see that, again, you're in the middle. My emotion when I see this is your rates are appropriate. The goal is not to be the lowest. The goal is to be appropriate for who you serve. Because, yes, you serve the whole city, but you also serve a rural area too. So it would not be fair for you to have a goal of, I want to be the lowest and compare yourself to a very small system that has a very tight, high density area. It also wouldn't be fair for you to say, I'm the same as one of the very rural systems at the bottom of the list. So I actually think you're appropriate. So I'll give you context. This year, I will have 70 out of 102 that will do a rate increase that's very similar to yours. The typical rate increase will be between 1% and 3%. I have a few that are at the 4 and 5% level. There are over 30 that are not doing it. Half of those should, but they don't have support to do it. So what I'm laying the groundwork for is there is great stress in inflation coming. We all see it in our personal lives. In our industry, it's coming in two ways. One is it's coming because there's cost increases for everything, that there's scarcity issues within your industry, and that's because of growth. So you have a compounding impact of new people moving into the area, demanding more volume. That makes there scarcity, that makes there be a premium on products and everything, in addition to normal inflation. So we're in a unique situation. Any questions on this slide? Next slide. This is total volume over time. So I put the chart it'll focus us on the attention. You can see a second last grouping. I'll describe first the chart. There's 10 bars per month. It goes back 10 years, basically. And the bar two groupings are year to date. And I'm focusing you on the second last grouping to the right. The point of this is the total sales. You can see it's like downward slope year after year. That is because people are putting in LEDs, better air conditioning units and appliances. It's happening in your water department, I'm sure. Whoever's over that, they would say it's not just electricity, it's water department too, your washing machines and so on, showers. There's a efficiency that's coming in through, I call it conservation without effort, because the way that the standards are is what you buy now is efficient as well. And you're experiencing it. It's across the whole state, the usage is coming down. When we look at residential, I now introduce the same concept that I've introduced lines. So if you look at the yellow line, you can see that's this year, and it has through April, and you can see that the volume on the average residential continues to go down. That's because of the appliances and LEDs and so on. The next slide would build that case and say, you're mature. So the flat line on the bottom is the number of residential customers, and you've got slight growth in commercial, which is the areas of it. So basically I'm saying this. I'm saying that you're mature, your base is fairly stable. This is a 10-year look. So you basically are not growing in customers significantly. And those customers are actually buying a little less. That's that downward slope. But you know, what the problem is, you have cost that is going up on the declining base. If this were your private business, I don't know what you guys do or outside of this room, but if you were an entrepreneur, that is a stressful scenario. The only thing you have to do is to raise your rate. So in this study, you're a monopoly, and you have an obligation to serve because they can't get other providers. And you basically, I think the rates need to be provided for all services. And I heard you say, and maybe some others, how the respect of the utility. I do respect it. You've had a lot of storms, you've dealt with them over the years. And it's very good. So, what I'm recommending is to maintain the level. Okay, so now any questions on the basis of the financial stress from the volume perspective? So now let's talk about O&M in more detail. This slide, again, has the format of 10 years for each month, and then the cumulative lines. Look at the gap that's happening. You can see that the yellow is this year, and it separates from the previous years. I see this across the valley. There is inflation in your cost. The previous year is the pink, which is 2 lines below, and then the green. So basically, it's stair stepping up, right? And that's why I have 70 out of 102 that are having rate increases, and half of the ones that aren't should. Questions, comments? Now to give you context of you versus others. This is a chart. I had to mask it because this is a public meeting, but you can see the average is in the middle, and then you can see I've got a blue star over your name. So there's 102 data points here. And what we're saying is how much O&M do you spend per customer? So on the right-hand axis is the number of customers, and you can see, it's a little bit hard to see on the screen, but you can see on your hard copy a back shadow. The back shadow is the number of customers. And you can see your mid-size utility on that back shadow. And you spend less O&M than average. So first promotion of that is, that's a good thing, right? When you look at it over a 10-year period, you have accomplished that basically all but 1 year of the last 2 years. So a couple things to highlight. First, let's define. The top line is the average from the previous chart over a 10-year period. Look at the upward slope of that. That's inflation. Look at the steepness for the last 2 years. And this is data in last June. When we finish this year, we put the next data point. It will be another year that goes up. And I showed you that on the yellow line 2 pages before. The gap, right? And everyone's doing it. You'll see that steepness may even increase a little bit more. Now, yours is going up, and I still say it's impressive that you consistently have been below the average and have had good performance. Right? Everyone can do that. But you also will have better. This gives you context that it's not something unique for you. Right? So another way of looking at it is that same data point. Now with the blue star, it's the same number, O&M per customer, and the back shadow now is residential customer charge. So I use this to give you my argument of why I am suggesting the $2.16 on the fixed customer charge fee for residential logistic one. And it's because the volumes, like we said, is going down. The number of customers, the fixed cost is going down. So we need to move your cost from the variable level that's declining into a fixed. Because you do not lay people off if it's a mild summer. You still have the fixed cost, and it's actually declining. So you can see I'll break you from low to high, sort of on the customer charge. And you can see that you're significantly lower than others. We can justify a much higher. So we're only going up $2.15, and that will not actually move you much because the majority of these are going to be moving up. It is just happening across the valley. You have to get the fixed fee to cover the salaries and other things. Big slide in the pause. Questions on the message? Next slide is net income. So net income is below the previous 2 years. The top 2 lines, you can agree. And that is mainly because sales are down a little bit, and O&M continues to go up. So the way the accounting works is O&M goes straight to net income is driving it down. Next slide. Now, a longer term look at it. On the left-hand side is O&M. I'll take you back to the year 2004. So the bottom black line that's got the boxes, that is if you escalated at 3% annual compounding rate, you would be along that line. The upper one is 5%. Almost everyone falls between the two. Now, on the previous slides, I told you that you were below the average, right? Consistently, 9 of the last 10 years. This is more evidence of that. Most people are right in the middle. You've managed to be lower than the big part. You're on the blue line, and I'm projecting 5% inflation for the next 5 years. And I may change my opinion in a year or two, but I haven't got the evidence to change it yet. When you can buy in your bucket trucks, and you know what price it's going to be when it's delivered, I'll change my opinion. Right now, you don't know. They call you and say it's coming, right? So this is the price.
Or they'll say it's coming several years from now.
Or they'll say you stay on the way and get it in years. Right. So I showed an increase over a long period of time. Look at the scale. That's a lot of millions of dollars over a 5-year period. That's going to go into your budget. On the right-hand side is net income, and you can see the zigzag over time. If you're a nonprofit, net income is important for bond ratings and things like that. It's not your goal to create wealth. It's your goal to pay your bills and to be stable. So you can see the downward slope of the blue line after in the forecast area, and it's happening. You're going to be driven down on net income, and you need these small rate actions to stabilize it. So in the orange case, which is the case that's got your fiber loan and investment and additional revenue coming back, you can see I'm still predicting net income to go down because you have to pay the interest on the loan until you get enough customers that's paying back the electric. You're going to have a little stress on net income. Again, it's actually okay if net income goes negative for a few years. You build the equity up. It's going to be cash flow that we talked about in a minute. But the rate actions help bridge between that and the completion of the fiber business. Right. Next slide is, I think I have this one more, is cash. So when you borrow money, and that's the yellow bar, and you've been investing it over time, and you have a significant amount of cash, but that cash is committed, right? And I heard you talk about that a couple times. You got a large investment, right? And don't need to buy because you don't need to use that to pay for your O&M increases, and obviously your debt holder has stipulations. So on the left-hand side of this chart is the orange line is that large capital investment we've been talking about, and the blue line is base case without it. It's very simple. On the right-hand side is your cash position. So I show if you are doing the orange line, you're living that now, and I'll show you your cash. You're going to spend it, you're going to invest. When you're done, you'll be at the trough of that, and then you'll be growing it back. And that requires you to do small rate increases along the way to fund them. If you chose not to do those rate increases, you still already, you will continue. Your tax levels will go down, and you will move from that top category to still good shape, but you will have pushed that way of action out. So I'm saying you can decide what, but it doesn't solve itself, right? You will just be pushing it like a wave. They're coming in short, and it will grow, and you'll have to do a larger action later to catch up. So you have the luxury, because you're in that top category of time. You can do 1%. You can do 0. But you will have to feed the old time. I'm confident in that. You have a choice in time. My recommendation, 2%. Given the typical rate action going on, it will not change the ranking. If it changed, it will change about one decision, but the majority of the ones that are around you are doing it also. And I think if I were in your, I would only recommend if I were in your chair, what would I do? I would recommend taking the small step now. But in my closing remark, I built the case at the very first. So 3.25% already going to happen to your customers. Right? That's the TDW increase passing on. You're going to be adding 2% to that. So the customer is going to see about 5.25 in October. You have choice. You could say, I wait till April. I wait another year. You may make actions then too. Right? Okay, that's my presentation. Questions? Oh, I would say one more thing. You do not have to decide tonight. You have to have submitted a memo to TVA by the end of June. So you have some full time for deliberation. I meet with him on a regular basis. Do a great job. Asking the right questions. And getting right.
Chris, I know you've been a mayor yourself.
I am a mayor also.
You understand.
I understand politics.
You actually just described the dilemma we're in on the next agenda, pushing things down the road and mayor considers. So I think this board can totally relate to your presentation. I know I do, especially the part right at the end. Yeah, that's why you got it on. So they know what you're talking about. So,
You know, I compliment this group here too. I saw honest, open conversation. That's good. I did. So that's good. Doesn't mean there's always agreement. That's okay.
still got to be friends with them.
Yes. All right. Anything else for me?
Brad, you recommendation to go with what Chris is recommending?
That would be my recommendation. He steered us for many years and kept us in good financial standing, so I would continue that pace.
Make a motion. To go with the recommendation. That motion, that's second. Any discussion?
I think I don't go around sorry.
Yes, sir.
But one thing that came out of the meeting with people the other night is historically, the electric system has not helped with any industrial development. If it happens in the past, I mean, if it happens in the future, will it change these numbers at all as far as the financial health of the system?
I will say that.
Does it make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, I think I understand it. So I'm going to give you an answer, and if it doesn't, because I don't know exactly what you said, but if you spend money out of the budget for economic development, something very different, huh?
2%.
Yeah. If you do that, then yes, it has to be funded by somebody within the electric, other customers within the electric. I don't see it done often. It can be done, but there's usually a significant amount of stress associated with it. If the city is in dire needs to get jobs and things like that, then there's generally support for everyone paying more on their bills to try to recruit someone. But that's probably the generic answer for you. It's not common.
Go back and explain me the 2% that Jay was at.
Oh, the
numbers guy was asking you about. What I understand here. Explain that to me.
I'll clarify to make sure you understood my statement. So because
We talk about, we're switching from, did I answer you? Okay, now.
go off of what he said, just to clarify, to make sure we're on the same page. So the city, from my view, the city owns
The
Lexington.
motion as it stands now is what I presented. It
Just
does
across the board. So
across the board, it doesn't count.
can we discount the city of Lexington?
Yes, sir.
Properties, including ball fields and that type of thing? Spread that
I can.
back out over all the customer base.
Yes, we can do that. That would need to be embedded in the amendment. I'm not trying to overstep here.
No, I know how to handle it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize. Okay, but as it stands now, that feature is not in this. But if you
Can I motion that?
What you have to do is make a motion to amend the resolution.
No.
What was the result we talked about? The result is not many dollars. No, it's not many dollars at all, because it's a few streetlights and athletic field. You probably have 1 or 2 athletic fields. So we're probably talking about 20 to 30 accounts that are adding $2.50 per month times 20 or 30. So dollar-wise, it's not much, and it would make all the other classes go up from 2%. I'm doing it in my head, right? To 2.1 or less. It's going to be a little bit more on everyone else's bill to get that much.
But understand the principle is people outside of Lexington are absorbing that cost.
So let's be direct, and I'm going to reinforce that. It's not just the ones in the city that would see that increase, it's all your customers. Right.
That's my point.
So this report, I'm reinforcing.
So dollar wise, guessing ballpark, what would that be? But
It's a few $1,000s. It's not much. It's 20 or 30 accounts times $2 per month over a year.
The city budget is much.
It's all the principal situation.
I understand.
So if you want to amend the motion,
I will amend the motion to state what, do I need to repeat all this? Basically, we will not be increasing the 2% for the city of Lexington.
you're asking him to change the form, that's what you're asking.
I'll repeat it back to you so that I understand. Eliminate the LS increase, the lighting increase, apply the lost revenue associated with that on the other classes to get to the same total request.
That's my motion.
So you make the motion to what he said.
I got it.
Do we run back to pay the Parsons?
And get right.
Well, I didn't say it again.
We service Parsons.
Do we serve Parsons?
Yes.
I'm asking this for questions. You know what that is. Okay. You need to have everybody.
I don't recommend that because they don't, their city doesn't own it. I don't recommend that because their city does not own it.
So I'm not selfish.
That's why I'm not asking. If we can't legally do it, that's one problem. That's why, that's why.
You can not say that they will give one and be bought.
Was the question to basically take out the lighting?
2% increase on the city.
That would include both the city of Lexington and the other cities.
You have to.
That's what
That wouldn't just be on the city of
But I still
Lexington.
not making the difference then, but I still think that's the right thing to do. Because either way, your residents are paying for it. So you would have some county, I guess, customers that would absorb it. So we don't have county accounts, so we're not different counties.
So I want to apologize to you. I don't know your individual scope well enough to have answered that. Now I understand that you serve some, I knew you served the county. I did not realize you were serving some entire cities also.
Yes.
Those cities would also be treated the same as Lexington and would not get it on their pathetic.
Yes. We also have to include county customers. Is it?
It would be across the board. It would be the same.
Any kind of municipality.
Yes.
And I still think the right thing to do. Either way, they're paying for it, so it's not going to be a benefit that I just described, to be honest with you.
All right, any more discussion? We're going to vote on to amend the motion. So, and Jay made the motion, do it, Roger second, correct? All right, call the roll. This is on the amendment.
Sandra Wood.
Yes.
Fred Ellis.
Yes.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rose.
Yes.
Jimmy White.
Yes.
Gordon Wiltridge. Gabe Williams.
Yes.
All right, the amendment passed. Now we go back to voting on the full motion. Call the roll, please.
Fred Ellis.
Yes.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes. Jimmy White.
Yes.
Gordon Wiltridge.
Yes.
Gabe Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Wood.
Motion passed as amended. Chris, we appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sincere, thank you for the energy you gave. I believe everything you truly did understand the presentation. Thank you. And audience, sorry. Back to you the entire time.
Thank you. Correct. We'll do it again.
Okay. All right, y'all, we have several budgets. We could go them all together, but we have a few things that I know y'all want to talk about. And I want to start with utilities first, and then we'll go into the general fund budget. I'm gonna start with the LES. Brad, go back up there. So I should tell you. The LES budget is on page 60, if you want to look at it. All right, Brad is, as said, we've had 6 budget meetings. Give everybody an opportunity to discuss them. Give you the opportunity to contact Brad Gibson. The reason I brought Brad back up is there's two, three things on there. I asked Brad to put, and Brad didn't do this, I asked him for, I know in the past that we have had department heads that have filled in for other department heads or have done an extra and we have given bonus before. Manager Grace at the time would spend several years on broadband to get us to where we're at. And I feel like that Manager Grace deserves a bonus for that because he put a lot of time and a lot of hard work in. I asked Brad to put $25,000 in the budget for Manager Grace, former Manager Grace, a bonus. I will end up asking for a motion second. You can vote no. You can change the amount. It's whatever y'all want to do. I just didn't think it was fair to put it in there, and I have told you about it, but I thought we would go on that second before we go in. I hope we get to discussion. And this is a bonus for Manager Grace. This is just coming from what I've asked Brad if they had money, if they could pay him a bonus, it would come out of the electric system money, not to broadband because as I said, I'll entertain a motion anytime. It's 25,000. I'll have a motion second. Is there any discussion? And if somebody wants to make an amendment to change something, you're welcome to. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Roger Alderman.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White.
Yes.
Gordon Wildridge.
Yes.
Gabe Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Woods. Brad Ellis.
Yeah.
Brad, be sure to tell Manager Grace we appreciate the time.
I'll do it.
One other item we have on here, Southwest Development District. Brad had mentioned him earlier. They're the ones who handles all of our grants. They're looking at putting a position in the development district. Now, I'm talking about this regional economic development specialist. And what they would be doing is asking that we donate or give annually $15,000 to. I explained to y'all that I would be in on the interviewing part of that, and that if I didn't agree with the person or had a point that I did not support it, I still feel that way. I know years ago we had state planners and state legislator took those away from us. Our planner, Chris Payton, comes from the development district. This would be another service they would have. Again, I didn't want to just stick that in there without y'all saying yea or nay. We currently can give money to WTIA. I do not feel like that WTIA is giving us the bang for the buck that we did years and years ago. And I've asked Brad basically just to replace the Southwest Development District position with WTIA. I know Manager Grace went ahead and fulfilled a commitment for a year before he left. So we'd be on the look for both, but next year we get out, we wouldn't. The money that goes into WTIA, TBA matches that. In other words, if you gave 15, TBA would give 15. That's a match they give, and that would follow where you got out of WTIA. So I'm asking the board to consider leaving 15 in to go to Southwest Development District for regional economic specialists. I have a second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White.
Yes.
Gordon Wildridge.
Yes.
Gabe Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Woods. Brad Ellis. Roger Lawson.
Yes. Okay, that passed. With that said, right now I entertain a motion to approve.
Another question.
All right, go ahead.
Is the adjustment to your salary in this budget?
Yes,
You
sir.
have, okay.
And as we just talked about,
No, but that's not needed in the budget.
but that'll be a benefit to the second.
Yeah, it'll help it out in the long run. Yeah.
So your budget's good as is?
They're coming up.
Okay, all right. If there's no more questions for the last budget, I'll entertain a motion to pass it. Approved. I have a motion approved. All right, any discussion? Vote on the LES budget as a whole. Call the roll, please.
Jimmy White.
Yes.
Gordon Wilder.
Yes.
Dave Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Woods. Fred Ellis.
Yes.
Roger Lofton. Tim Rhodes.
Okay, you're looking on page 62, you see the Lexington budget. Brad, you do those numbers on there?
Yeah, we've been back and forth Irby several times on them.
All right. Now, any questions on the Lexington budget? I'll entertain a motion. Okay. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Gordon Wilder.
Yes.
Dave Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Woods.
Yes.
Fred Ellis.
Yes.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, you go to page 51 is gas, and while you're looking, water system is 55, septic, again, 5 times. We'll go to gas first. Is there any questions for just on gas? I'll entertain a motion. Second, any discussion? Call the vote.
Dave Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Woods. Yes. Fred Ellis.
Yes.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White. Gordon Wilder.
Page 55 is the water system budget. Is there any questions, discussions, for Justin on that? No, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to accept. Second. Any discussion? Call the vote, please.
Sandra Woods. Yes. Fred Ellis.
Yes.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White.
Yes.
Gordon Wilder.
Yes.
Dave Williams.
Thanks, Justin. All right, we're going to general fund budget. I will say the school budget is in with our general fund budget. I know we're saying the seniors in the range of guidance. You might have any questions for school budget? Okay, hearing none. And Cindy, I appreciate you being here.
Sure.
You're always good. I've got a few items. I know we had one phone call, and that was about paving. Paving is still in the budget at $500,000. It's been up. It's still in there. There was a question about that. We'll bring up the museum. We've talked about that a little bit. I've called around all the towns around us. Some of them have a museum, but they currently don't have a position they take. The city of Henderson did, the city of Bolivar did, the city of Atlanta did, the city of Parsons did, and the city of Huntington did. And I think the salary right now goes to about $31,000.
Yes.
It's around $31,000. That building is in dire need of repairs. And I do not want this board and myself to get in the shape that we did at the Civic Center at Old Campus School where I went to school. I don't feel like that it's our fault that it got there. This building went too long without repairs and it was almost unrepaired. And I know that the museum, the old post office, badly needs some repairs. And I wish we could, these other towns that do have a museum have volunteers that volunteer there. I don't like letting people go. I don't like doing things like that. But I know we don't have the money in the budget. Our budget's tight. And I think that we should take that salary that we're paying that person and put it towards repairing the building. This is my recommendation. Y'all can do it like it is. At one time, I talked to y'all about maybe turning the museum over to the chamber, but I don't have all that worked out. I don't know if we could do that or not. But at this time, I'm just recommending to the board that, effective July 1, when the budget starts, that would close the museum, but would open it. We have somebody in the city that could go up there and bring things around the museum, but use that money towards repairs on the building. You don't have to do it, we'll do whatever y'all want. I'll entertain a motion. If I don't get one, we'll leave that salary in the budget and leave it as is.
There's not any money in the budget to do repairs.
Can you have any?
Very little, just, normal routine maintenance.
We did do windows, what, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, is that right? We did something for the windows.
Close to 10 years on the windows, the roof, and, some of the repairs were about 2 years ago. They were,
That basement is a mess. I'm not even sure it's safe, you know.
That building was built, you hear my motors, back in 1937, that sound right?
Before my time.
Mayor, I'm for cutting the position, but to me, we need to get a real idea of what it's gonna cost to make that building safe before we go to the window. To me, I spent a couple years ago, spent $80,000 on the roof, and logically, you don't spend money on the roof if what's below it is gonna fall down. So, I mean, that's kind of the reality. So I like the idea. I am concerned though about even $30,000. Is there better use of $30,000 in our city? I think so.
Are there grants out there with that being a museum that you can get to help for funding with that, to do repairs?
Turn it.
yeah, we applied for a maintenance grant this past year, we were turned down.
But again, it's what we're going to do.
To me, not doing anything is not an option because, you know, that building hasn't seen anything. I wouldn't see that building taken down. That's just my opinion.
I think you got a lot of money. You started.
I realize that.
Would we say get it looked at before? I mean, I'm not against it totally, but to me, it doesn't make sense to throw money out without knowing what it's gonna cost.
I get told this, that this is first reading, so you don't have to do it, we'll have a second reading, so you'll must be on work in the meantime. I'll be glad to do that.
Engineering, what is the cost of fixing? I mean, because if you don't want to tear it down.
Oh, that's just me, I'm just one person.
Well, if the decision eventually not to tear it down, can't just leave it in the shape it's in.
What I could do between now and next week is get a price from somebody to see what it would cost for somebody to put in.
Basically, it's gonna be, that's the structure, that's the thing.
So if you sell it, so.
Yes, you do whatever you want, but
You wouldn't be valued.
So the question is, before we spend all this money, even if we go to one cause, what is the end goal? Because if it's going to be outrageous to fix it, what's the money for somebody to tell you what you already know? That is a building staff, is, I guess, the question, correct?
this is the structural engineer and look at it and tell me, I'm not doing it, so
I'm not sure taking that 30,000 would even cover an engineer coming in to do it. It wouldn't even touch it.
I'm gonna push it to the shelter, that's what I'm saying. Excellent. Christmas lights are in that budget. The 2 fire trucks are in that budget. The door, I'm gonna ask, and I had Casey to come up and talk to you about the door. It's got to be fixed for public works, it's $30K. I'm asking y'all to put the $30K in there for the building. I know on Lawson, I should go through some numbers and found $2,807.50 for a scoreboard at the ballpark, and the ballpark is gonna pay that, is that correct? All right, so I'm asking the scoreboard and for the building. And the fire trucks to stay in and the lights to stay in. So I'll entertain a motion for that. You can change it anywhere you want. Somebody motion.
I'll make a motion.
Any discussion?
We're talking about 275 and 900,000.
First in the new.
Okay, how much for the school board?
$2,807.86 if I'm not mistaken.
And that's 50%. That's just 50%.
Yep.
And 30 days was the plan.
Yes. Any discussion? All right, what you voting on? Keep lights in, fire trucks, and the school board and the door. All right, call the roll, please.
Fred Ellis.
No.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
No.
Jimmy White.
Yes.
Gordon Aldridge. Gabe Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Lloyd.
Yes.
All right, pass forward. All right, put that out of the way. All right, so now, page 20. One in this one. Okay. It's a summary sheet that I'll talk to y'all about. This is probably a meeting. Mr. Chris, that was here a while ago, pretty well described the scenario that we're in. Like I said, we've had 5 meetings. We've passed all this stuff. We all know it. And I'll remind y'all that some of y'all voted for some things that added expenses to our budget that, and we didn't replace it with revenue. You know, I told y'all before, in Nashville, they took our halls tax away, the state sales tax, they put it in. Our state planners, I mentioned, it seemed like every time we turn around, they do something plus the city budget. Our property tax has been flat for years. And then I told Alderman Sue's there, she said she just couldn't understand why. It still is, Cody, didn't you say we just saw a $6,000 increase this year for property tax?
Yes, that's it.
And I mean, it's hard for me to believe it's just that amount. But inflation's been getting us. I know we've had a salary survey. Like I told y'all, I've lost, since I've been mayor in 07, I've lost 50% of my workforce. We've lost 50%. You know, they've kept taxes low here for years and years. There's other cities that have new city halls, there's other places that have event centers. We don't have that because we kept it low. And I'm for keeping low because I don't want to pay any more too. But I warned y'all 2 years ago, 3 times, that we were putting in more expenses and not replacing it with revenue. And last year we raised taxes a little bit, but we raised our expenses up. Alderman Rhodes is going to want to go. At some point, we've got to stop spending and try to figure out where we're at. In with the budget proposals, I am going to ask the city to put a hiring freeze on effective July 1st. Now, with the police department, there are jobs there that are grant related, so I'm not putting for that. I know that we've got some positions that need to be filled in some of our utilities. This is mainly for the general fund budget, but I would also like to ask my utility managers to be frugal and not be hiring any new positions. And I will say this with the hiring freeze I'm asking for, any hire at all, period, has got to come forward, even if it's in the budget. And if we pass the budget, I'm also putting a freeze on the budget. If you have an item that's 10,000 or more, even though it's in that budget, you've got to come in front of the board and you've got to explain to the board why. Because too many times when you put money in the budget, everybody says, oh, they put that in there. I can just spend it, but it's not going to work that way. And until we can get things running back in. I gave y'all 3 proposals. I gave y'all a 74 increase. I gave y'all, which was option C. Option B, I'm going back to the options, was 50 cents, and option A was no tax increase at all. And like I told y'all, you could get away with not doing a tax increase this year, but you're gonna, the danger is getting below our minimum unassigned fund balance requirement, which is 2.4 million, because like Chris, the gentleman that did a presentation on the electric, you didn't have to do what he said, but sooner or later it's going to catch up to you, and that's what's happened to us now. We're being caught up to. With all the storms that's came through Texas and to West Virginia this past weekend, and storms in Iowa, if that happened here, if we didn't have a rainy day fund, we wouldn't have any money to pay the bills. And God forbid, I don't want us to have an event like that at all. But it would be embarrassing to me if we didn't have money in a rainy day fund to get us out of the bind. So I want us to stop taking money out of the rainy day and stop taking money out of our unassigned fund balance, because that's what we've been doing to balance the budget. And again, I don't want to pay taxes at all. I don't want to pay more than what I pay. But we cannot continue going the way that we're going. And I will make a note of this: there's no water, no money in this budget at all for stormwater. We all know how much rain we've been getting. It's causing sinkholes, it's causing all kinds of problems. There's no money in this budget for that if we have a problem. And again, I said, City Hall, anybody drives by, see it's falling down. We've made the land swap with TBR to get the new TCAT out. Hopefully we'll move to the TCAT, City Hall will be there, but there'll be costs and money involved trying to get that fixed. And there's no money in the budget for that as well. But, you know, I'm in it with y'all. I ran out there all for 8 years. And it's tough decision y'all have to make. I've been in your shoes before. And, you know, it's come to the point where we can keep kicking the can down the road, but sooner or later it's going to find us bad. And then you're talking about laying off a lot of people, and that's what good services to people as a whole. You know, I'm not for that, because people are services. But with that said, you know, I'm gonna go with option C and recommend 74 cents. I don't want that, but at 74 cents, it would leave a rainy day in, and it would give us what we have our unsigned fund balance where it's supposed to be, and some cushion. Y'all wouldn't have to go with that recommendation. We don't want to. But what I'm gonna do is entertain a motion for option C. If we don't get that, we'll go to option B. If we don't get that, we'll go to option A. So I'll support whatever you do, whichever direction you decide for us to go. The department heads and myself, as I said earlier, y'all set the course this year, and we're going to keep it on course. So I'll open it up for discussion or motion.
So before we open the discussion, so what's the average cost of a house in the city?
Yeah, I think 2.5
Absolutely. So this would give everybody on the board, anybody in the room who wants to listen. I was sort of right there putting some numbers together. $175,000 house, 74 cents increase. They'll be appraised at $43,750, which is 25%. They currently pay $456.27 a year in property taxes. That'll go up to $780 a year, which is a difference of $320 per year, or $26.98 per month. If the average cost of a house is $225,000, they're assessed at $56,250. They currently pay $586.63 in property taxes. That'll go up to $1,002.88, $416 a year difference. And I'll do this one last one for $275. It's assessed at 25%. And $68,750. They currently pay $76.99. It would go up to $1,225, which is $508 difference. And the way I got that is I took the appraised cost of the house divided it by 4, which gives me my 25%, and then I multiply it by the current tax rate, which is 0.010429, which is $1.04, which gives you the current tax rate. And then to get what it will be, I'll take that same 25%, multiply it by 0.0178, which is 74 cents onto 104. And that will give you what your new rate would be. Is that not correct? So
You don't have the numbers for the 50 cents, do you?
I sure do. And I would have passed this out, but I did this, and probably nobody can make it out with me. 50 cents on a $175,000 house, you currently pay $675.02. Your new rate would be $780.02, which is $105 a year increase, or $8.75 a month, for a $275,000 house. You currently pay $1,060.74, 12.25, 74, $165 increase, $13.75 a month, and the average is $225. You currently pay $867.88. It'll go up to $1,002, which is a
You know what, 48%. And it's how much you said it was? What did you say the claim then?
56,000.
What did you say the, it says property tax?
867.
Then taxes pay 800 something on it? The 50 cents increase, or 50 cents increase, that's it's a 48% increase, so it's gotta be more, it's gotta be 600 something, it's gotta be at least 300, 400 something. Not 200.
What's that?
$1,581.
How much?
$281 and 25 cents.
Oh, I'm sorry. That number, that difference, I gave was the difference between 50 and 74%. That's what my number came from. I didn't do that for 50%. I didn't use the difference between 50 and 74. Yes, for the 50%. So I ran out of time. On the 74, I did all of it. For 50%, I didn't have time.
For 325, it would go from 325,000, it would go from 847 to 1448, which is the difference of 601. And if you went to the 50 cent at 325,000, it would go from 847 to 1253, with a difference of 406, and that's with your penny equaling $26,226.
So the average cost of 225, you're looking at what? $200 difference.
I don't know, I got a call about 30 minutes ago. From a business owner here in town. And somebody told her that y'all proposed these taxes. The budget has been proposed to raise the taxes to 50 or 70%. She called me and said, she understands the county's going to, she got her tax card and she could pay this to the city because she could do something and she had, I want to answer this question, because I don't know what it is. She asked me, I don't know. Her property taxes are $40,000 a year. Now, she owns a business. They own townhouses, they live there in town. And townhouses are considered commercial property, and assessed them at 40%. Because we have rental property and houses, that's at 25%. As not, it's a wonder we do commercial property on one like the other.
The question for the tax assessor.
That's the tax assessor question. So he decides that. Well, that goes, because he decides to set aside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
She just asked me, she wouldn't know why I'm trying to serve at 40% now. She told me she did the math, and this is not put in from the county.
So it was 90,000 if the county and the city did what they did. You got that.
I got a call. Anyway, I just said I'm related, that's all I'm doing, I'm just saying what she said, and she said she just, we did a good discussion, so. I mean, still I'm gonna.
What's the pay last year?
Huh?
What's the pay last year?
I don't know, he said she just $40,000 increase. She did her math.
$40,000 increase.
In fact, let me tell you something, you have commercial property here in town. And I'm sure Jeff has commercial property, I have commercial property. And I have a business. I've been off for the last 3 years from my taxes by the state at the county's request. In fact, I got one coming next week to do it again. Every time I turn around. And every time I turn around, they're going up. Because what it's been in business, I'm really going to be going for this money. And I can simplify exactly what she's saying right there. But what I gotta do is, which a lot of people don't have to do this, I have to run a business, I have to make a profit, I have to pay payroll, I pay workman's comp, unemployment taxes, I pay all these things, but all this stuff right here. And you know, this is kind of a hard thing to take. I've seen this with many times. I am having incremental rate increases a little bit as we go along, not so bad. Now, I understand who we are. And I understand we're short money. I understand we got a great problem. I was saying is, I'm going to answer this, but I honestly can't vote for 50 cents. I mean, I just can't do that. I mean, I might vote 20 cents or 25 cents, but I cannot do 50 cents. That ain't gonna help us, ain't gonna help nothing, okay? But at least it's a step. But if we want him to, the board members decide they want to do this, hey, I'm a board member, I go along with it. But I think we're gonna have a problem. Complete that, I've had more calls with this one, pretty great, not very. I'm sorry, okay? I think what's going on because what she told me was, she said, I just had $100 a month rate increase on my rent. And she said, now I'm not kidding. She just had it a month ago, and now she got to come around and do it again with these taxes. That's what's going to happen. And I think that'll happen to a lot of landowners or rental people that has rental houses, rental properties, and that bunch of taxes hurt. I don't have that. I don't have enough rental stuff. But I do have commercial property that has equipment and for very huge amount of money. And that's what they keep looking at. They want to see what what they call that? What do they personal or personal price. They want to know how much that stuff is. They want to go in there and reappraise it every year. Well, you ain't going to get done during 3 to 5 years. I've had it 3 years straight in a row. I'll never go up. Guess what? It went up every time. So every year.
Not only is taxes went up, I mean, it's, I'm already in it, so trust me. Should be made up. But let me explain something. I want to do this. And let me give an example of mine. The reason that I've said these 3 in here is because there's a trend coming. And if we don't raise taxes at all, and I'd be all for that, but you're going to take $2 million out of the reserves to balance the budget. And when we had our meetings, all that happened was the capital project. We sit there and cut $378,000 of capital project out. We took the police cars out. We took the graphic truck out. I mean, I could have done this. So sooner or later, the equipment's going to run out, and then what are we going to do? Like I said, I don't want to recommend tax increases. I'm telling y'all, you're going to run out of money. And what's going to happen is, if we don't cut the spending and figure it out, the state will either come in and set the rate, y'all will make a motion, and you don't want that. And so at some point, it's my job to recommend y'all, because Cody and I run the numbers in this one, and y'all is going along the way. We have to keep unassigned fund balance of $2.4 million. And again, with no tax increase, we'll stay above that. But the next year, you won't, because even at 50 cents, We raised it 50, we're still gonna take $673,000 out of our unassigned fund balance. And you're just gonna slowly start eating away at it, and we're gonna be right back there. I agree with all the others. It should have been raised a little bit at the time and not made it so painful for everybody to want to run. So,
The county is gonna raise their rate and that, I'm assuming tank, I'm assuming you don't really know when they get no sale. But I understand they're gonna have a 20% rate increase. Okay. Usually it's half the city and twice that the county, I don't know what it's gonna be. But we're gonna be right with the county what we're gonna be, and I'm just pointing this out. And rumor is that about 40% of the revenue that the county gets comes out of this bank. We all know that. We all know the tax money does. Is what it is. And it's kind of hard knowing we get what we do in the county. They're not allowed to ask our citizens to give it to them. I wish we could work on a plan. And I've heard Cody say you can't say, well, we're gonna have 10 cents this year, 10 cents next year, and 10 cents next year. You can't do that. You gotta do whatever. Well, that may be true, and it may not be true. Because we can come in every year and vote 10 cents, and that's what it is. But you can't just say, I'm gonna lock you in for the next 10 years, so we'll vote 10 cents. But I agree with you, something gotta be done. But I'm for a rate that's not 50 cents. I don't know what it can be, we can settle that, because I just don't think the park is gonna go for this. But in my opinion.
Can I add an analogy? So today I texted a person directly in this room today about tax increases. Okay? And this is the best analogy that I could try to do. Everybody understands. So as a banker, you're a home banker. So a home in this town 5 years ago, let's say, was worth $80,000. Okay? It is now worth, I would argue, probably anything worth 80 is now worth $250. Now, for that same home, you take it and you call a repair guy to put in and do a bathroom remodel, to do any kind of project at your house. If you priced that 5 years ago, and you priced that today, everybody in this room would agree that it is substantially more. So we have had valuations increase. Now, with personal finance, the same person brought up, well, if in my house, if we don't have the money, we would just cut the expenses today. And I would agree with that. I would in my house too, if I didn't have the money to pay for something. With the exception, if I own a home and I have a roof that starts leaking big time and has a hole in it, and 5 years ago that roof cost $8,000, and today that roof replacement costs $25,000, am I just going to say I'm not going to fix that? And to me, the only two options with that homeowner that has that scenario is either you sell the house because you can't afford to make the repairs, or you pay the cost and acknowledge that, hey, the house is worth more, I'm protecting my investment. Okay, so that's the thing. I think anybody here would somewhat agree with my statement there. So with that said, the difference in the city budget is, number one, our investment is not our house, our investment is our community. Okay, so if we, number one, don't pay for things that we should today, and that's why we're here today, we're going to put it all for our kids, our future generation staff to deal with. So, and number two is we don't have the option to sell the house. That's the two options. We're the only game in town if you want to have water, electricity, police, service that we all want. And frankly, to protect your home value, if we don't have the services we have today, who's going to come here and buy your house for double or triple what it was worth 5 years ago? Nobody. I mean, that's what we're up against. So that said, it is very hard for me to say I want to pay $500 or $600 more a month, or to have my parents pay that more money, or anybody else in this room. Because I see people at the bank all the time, they can't tell you what they got. But the thing is, there is an option. I mean, and the option is people that own properties, if they cannot maintain or pay a few $100s more a year, when you're doing any project at your house, it's going to cost a lot more than $200 to $500 or even $1,000 more a year today. And again, your property value, pretty much everybody has doubled in the last 5 years. And you're not paying any more tax on that house until last year. That was the first time we had any dollar, the value went up, but your tax rate was adjusted downward to not paying more taxes until last year. So last year was the first time since all these depreciations happened, anybody in this room has paid $1 more tax. So I say all that to say, I don't want to pay more, but if anybody here says they're not going to pay more taxes, or we're just going to not go for it, tell us where we're gonna cut enough to protect our investment. So if you were in the position of having a major home repair that you had to fix, and you don't have the money, are you just gonna let that roof go leaking for 2 or 3 years, and now your $250,000 house is gonna be worth $150,000? Is that a smart move to not pay the $25,000? And this is not a house we're talking, this is our community we're talking about for our future. So I don't like it, but I'm just telling you, are there dollars in here? I'll add this last thing. Are there dollars in our budget that we could all discuss and probably argue about? Is it necessary? I mean, yes. Is it $2 million worth? Absolutely not. Okay, it's nowhere close. I mean, you might find $5,000, $10,000, even $100,000 here or there. That's not going to affect the fact that we're going to pass a tax increase to cover things that we have to do to protect our investments, which is our residents, our kids, and our future of our town. So that's all I'm going to say.
Maybe I'll, but let me understand. 4,645 lots in the city. Okay? There's about 1,555 tax bills goes out. That's a low percentage right there to pay. All right or wrong? The property owner, this is the property tax, right? You got about 1,600 people paying on property tax. Out of 9,000 people. Is my numbers right? Yeah.
Sound
right.
Well, we did have one slide of it, what Dave said, county had to do assessment, and when we went built on the property, we lived on it, we didn't make up the so we got a little tax increase at that time. We had a little tax increase. So we had two slabs, we left it with one, we broke it with one. I mean, it was minute, I think it gave us about 10 grand. And we did that, so that was a slap.
Just, I had Cody do some figuring. 25%, it's still 1.3 million out of unassigned fund balance to balance it, you know, better than nothing. But my point I'm getting at is, it's my job to tell y'all. I think y'all understand. Well, I don't want that. I've got to run the numbers and tell y'all what they're doing.
I would ask, I would ask one number here, to explain, okay? I only done this with the police department. I'm looking here, I'm on page 8. That's all this is on right here. Page 8. I'm just using one department, okay? Now I'll ask you, because I'm looking at it right. It says the 23-24 estimated, and it's got down, I'm gonna work on line 121. Line on 42,100, line 121. See it? It says for last year, it was $1,522,396.50. This year, it's going to $2,217,343.58. That's a $695,000 pay increase within the police department. The fire department's probably got one close to about $300,000. So this, when we was at, what we did, we voted on pay raises and doing that step policy, and what it done, added over $1 million, $1.1 million to this $2 million deficit we got. Now, we got longevity in here, about $100,000 we pay out. I know that the hospital health insurance is up $100,000. I can go down through every one of these, all this stuff is going up. Every one of them. Some of the stuff's been self-inflicted. They included, I'm not going to rule me out, because I didn't find your website. But we should have been more privileged to talk about what we're doing, knowing what we're coming. And like I said, I would like to done those smaller pay raises, tax increases, and not get into the system. So we could probably And I may be totally wrong about this, we could probably cut part about half of the pay raises down a little bit. I reason I'm asking is that they put the whole thing that they want to do, and they did that STEP program in this 1 year. I thought this thing's gonna be spread out over 3 years.
Spread out over multiple years.
Well, then how did it jump up $695,000 just in 1 year?
That's the difference in 2 years' worth. Instead of 1.5 million versus 2.2. That's the difference in fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 25.
That's all right. But you got 2024, and we're on 24, 25, right?
Yes.
And it says estimated, you had estimated on there 1.5, is that right?
Yes.
And we had
4.5, 2.2.
Yeah.
Which would have been the 2.2 had the police department been fully staffed and everything topped out. But since they continue to have so much turnover, you've got less experienced officers at lower rate pay. So they actually saved quite a bit of payroll this year because of turnover.
And that's the only reason I'm asking this, and I stand to be corrected if I'm reading it wrong, but I'm asking this question. You go through here and make all of that something, no matter what department it is. But to go back to what Gabe said, the water and the sewer and the gas, that's a pass-through charge because the ratepayers pay it. Any service we have here, garbage pickup, and by the way, the reason I'm alluding to all this right here, the garbage pickup we have, the county don't have, but we pay 7 cents. For every tax dollar we give the county, we pay 7 cents for that tax dollar. And it goes to garbage to the county. You can take your garbage down here in the county, and they have to take it because you pay for garbage pickup. They don't pick it up, but you can take it too. So every time you turn around, you're paying tax dollars to the county for something that you're not gonna get a service for. But we pay for that service in here in this town to do that. When they get money to do roads, we don't get none. We have to put $500,000 in here to do the roads in this thing. But get back to the crux of the whole thing is, we could probably pat our belt a little bit like Jeff was asked to do hiring freeze and all that like that. And we could probably look at it. So what will it take for us to skim by to get this thing in line next year? I don't know. But I am not for making an adjustment of 50 cents. I think you done a tax on 25 cents. I think that's reasonable. I think if the county does 20% pay rate, 20% of dollars, what? 20 cents, or we can do 24 cents or 25 cents. Sometimes I can't, but I'm not doing no 50 cents now. I'm not making no motion, I'm just telling you where I'm at, so I let everybody else, Gabe voice his opinion, I voice mine, someone else will voice it.
I'm gonna make a comment about the police department, I know, I know you want.
I didn't pick him out.
I know you did, but I want to say something to police department students. At one point, I was 7 police officers down, 7. People don't want to be a police officer anymore. And when y'all go home at night, you will know you're going to the same place.
Yep.
I promise you that. So we have to pay our people. Other police departments are stealing from each other. And we even had to change for our police officers to be off every other weekend. That caused a problem. But hey, they have kids at home too. They want to go to their ball games. They want to do their stuff. I have no problem paying the police department. I don't. I'm sorry, but I don't. And I know when we hire a police officer, it doesn't stop there. It takes a year, almost a year, to get them trained so they can be out. So it's not like like public works. And you just, I know you run the police department.
I got one more item here. Okay? This ain't got to do with
I know, but let me finish. But I'll defend our police department all day. Because and I know that's the biggest part of our payroll. I know it is, but we have to have police officers. And it's a challenge to get anybody even want to be a police officer anymore. And again, I know all of you want to feel safe, and I want to feel safe. And I think we have a great police department. I just wanted to keep that in.
Well, let me chime in. Something else. Not just the police department, but every department we value. We had a salary survey. We did that to see how much underpaid they were. Or overpaid. It didn't turn out they were overpaid. It's not their fault that they sit here and work all these years and got less than market value. That's not their fault. Now, to keep them, we're gonna have to pay that, like you said, I mean, no, so, you know, the salary survey is what led to the adjustments, not some whim about, well, let's just pay everybody more money, that's not where it came from. If you weren't going to take care of it, there's no use in doing the salary survey.
And Roger, tell me any company, any municipality, anything of business where people work, anybody's room, has anybody not got a raise in the last 5 years? If you didn't, you're probably looking for somewhere else to go to work. I mean, that really is, I mean, that's the truth. I mean, so everybody here, so to say we give them a raise, yes, we do, absolutely. If we don't give raises, would anybody here that didn't get a raise in the last 5 years, would they still be where they're at? I mean, if they're any good, they're crazy people, and that's just the reality. So we,
For a long time,
so we wait.
but the world's not that way.
The world's not that way. Everybody can change.
You know, all of our employees, you know, I'm treating them like other places. That's what I got.
Between doing salary surveys and then inflation still, I mean, we've had things that's come back 40%. I mean, it's just been, it's a combination of
Did not. It did.
I noticed when we got this sheet right here on the budget, we got one, and we got a new one. I apologize, I'm trying to find the one I had, I got some extra, you know, plan here, but anyway, the one that we got, that day y'all said was correct, it showed that the total revenue is $11,848,000. And we just got a new one in this package, it said the total revenue is, find it. 12 million, is that right? 12,136,955. So for last month, we got a $300 and something $1,000 increase. How do you think that?
Some of the state share revenues, came in better than projected.
Okay. I mean, it's good to know, I'm asking, that's good. So it's positive to us, that we got that, and that shows, where did it show on this form, what line did it show that?
Thanks.
Page 4.
Page 4?
Yes.
Okay.
We received a additional delinquent property tax, the local sales tax, that's line 31610. We got those checks in last week. The added gym room, better than projected. And then if you go over to the next page, page 5, state sales tax, state, now it's state sales tax. Hold on,
I'm glad it went up, I just don't know what time.
we're just projecting out on the year, we don't know what our revenue is gonna be until we receive it. So as we continue, as the year finishes up, we'll define the numbers as we get the actual revenue.
I got pardon me, I lied, talk a lot and all of this, but we want to like to finish it for a second. Earlier on, you had the opportunity to potentially combine two departments together and cut out a lot of redundancy, so we could actually save money. And we chose not to because things were going to do it or run smoothly. I'm okay with it, but either we're going to look for savings, or we're not, or we're going to continue to do for savings. Because on the flip side, we turn around and voted just a few seconds ago even though we're gonna spend potentially, $2 million out of the fund balance or rainy day fund for this year. We just spent, what was it, 900 and then 275, a little over a million or something for 2 fire trucks and school boards that it doesn't affect this budget, but if you don't do a tax increase this year, you automatically adding $1 million and something for next year's budget. That's not one.
Yes, sir.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
You pay for that, you pay for that, this year would be 25,000, and next year it would be 100,000. Not yet.
And make payments.
Yes.
Well, we ready to return, but the granted, everybody knows it goes up every year. Things go up every year. So you buy it and it costs $2,000, or you buy it when it costs $50,000. But give you an example. Somebody gave an example earlier. You want to buy a bicycle. You never use cow. Hey, I got that bicycle. It costs $5. No. Come back a year later with dad, and I buy that bicycle. It costs $200. Same bicycle. Why did you do that? I don't have the money this year. This year, I got $200 to buy. We don't have to go, if we don't do taxes, it's going to come roosters or chickens or whatever, they're going to come to roost at some point in time, and historically, the board has preferred year after year after year.
I'll make a motion raise it to $1.04. So I got something to say if we go from here. You can please get a second vote on it, and we'll raise it all the way up, but I make a motion raise it to $1.04.
Where's that money going to?
General Stone, so they're ready. Total revenue, $1.04, so it'll be $1.04, it'll be $1.04.
So 16 or 21 cents.
Oh, I thought you meant right.
That's what I was
That's 21 cents, or if it's 50 cents, I'll make a motion, $1.25 will be it, and if somebody wants to raise it or amend it or whatever, if they don't do a second, y'all put it in, but I'm willing to put some tax on them. On the top. It may not be enough, but I'm gonna do something like that.
You know.
50 cents.
Hold on. You just know it's not enough. Let's stay from I've got a motion. I've got a second. Got a motion, second. You got a second. Any discussion?
All you do is buy 1 year maybe.
And you're pushing it down the road. I have been here since 2009. You have 2 years. You have so much on it, just about, as you call it, broke as a joke. And I have seen that. Can I speak on council? In 2021, there was 4 people, including myself, that sat on this board. And I made a comment, and I said, if we would raise this, at that time, 1 penny was equal to $17,900 in your tax. If we would have raised that 10 cents that year, you would have only brought in $179,000. But each year, you would have to have 4 members on this board, whoever it might be, to vote for that for the past 4 years. If we had done that at that time, and for every 4 years, we would be spending $716,000. It fell on deaf ears. Nothing happened. So here we are. In 2009, we had no money. In 2012, we raised taxes 42 cents. We went from 2012 to 2023, and we raised it 16 cents. And here we are, and that is not enough. This 25 cents is not going to do it. It's not going to do it. You're going to be the same place that you are now. You're going to be that same place next year. If the state legislature does what it's trying to push through, they're going to try to stop it where you can cap property tax at 5%. If you cap that at 5%, you're stuck. then what's your city gonna do? How are you gonna function? You cannot function. No, people complain, a lot of people complain about the police, they complain about the fire department. You don't need them until you need them, and then when you need them, you're not there. Then you're gonna come back and say, well, it's your fault, you should have done the right thing. So, with that being said, I'm finished.
Can you do anything besides?
I'm just gonna go, roll.
Do you feel it? A little bit, just a little there.
We do that with the water rates, we raise that, you know. Everything has gone up for everybody. Do I want to lower taxes? Absolutely not. But I know what reality is. And 25 cents is not living in the real world, and that is not reality. You know, and
Somebody admit it.
And
You got a number.
you got a second, you can vote for it. Call the roll.
Somebody admit it.
Call the roll.
This is for
$1.25.
raising 21 cents.
Let's start somewhere.
Roger Lofton,
No.
Tim Rhodes,
Yes.
Jimmy White,
No.
Tori Mildred.
Yes.
Gabe Williams. Sandra Wood.
No.
Fred Ellis.
Before I ask the question, Wesley, tell me the age of our fire department, please.
Our oldest engine, 24-year-old, 20-year-old, and he's down to less than 8-year-old.
So at some point, we've got to get back to fire department business, quick, right? And we know for a fact that the emissions is going to change next year.
Emission standards on fire engines is gonna change next year in federal regulations. Just the price of the motor of a new truck is gonna go up $100,000.
So
Just on the motor, just the motor, it's gonna go up $100,000. So
No, we didn't pass the budget. We didn't pass the budget. We've already put it out. But my point is, our fleet is always, and you're gonna have to upgrade your fleet so you can buy cheaper this year, or just wait and keep letting that cost get higher.
And we don't know what maintenance costs are to be just right. They can be huge.
All right, I said that, and I'm going to follow this. We're back to the drawing.
You know, I'd be a hypocrite for myself personally if I didn't make the motion to go to 74 cents, because the way I process stuff is you identify a problem, you come to a solution, and you move on to the next problem. And as it's been stated, this has been a problem on this board for a long time, to push this stuff down the road. And I've talked to a number of people who are hard against a property tax on a lot. And I understand it. And one question that I've asked everybody, help me come to a solution. And it's the same answer, I don't know. Well, you know what? Neither do I. But I do know what. We have to do something. So I'll make the motion that we accept the mayor's suggestion of a 74 cents property tax.
Got a motion and a second. Second. I have a second. I have a second. Means that. Hearing none, call the roll.
You have, I think, you take from y'all. 74, they don't need to look.
The balancing, we give you what, 30,000?
44,000. You'll see how that will be. Thank you. That's great.
They do that,
That's the same that they tax the fire.
We don't have to do it. And we come out with this.
Multi-service work project.
Oh, yeah, that was still on 75.
And this is first reading, we still have to second reading. It doesn't mean anything you can. And that's up to you.
Somebody will come up with a suggestion between now and the next meeting that maybe change my opinion. I mean, if you have a better idea or a suggestion, I'm open. But I'm glad everybody's here. You have seen firsthand the issues that we deal with. And none of us up here have the correct answer for all of our problems. But I hope you all see that we do have issues. And until more citizens come to the meetings, give input into the meetings, you're basically dependent on 7 people on this board to make decisions for you. If you're not going to be involved, it's hard for you to sit behind the keyboard and write the Elite 7 or whatever the heck y'all want to call us. I've lived in a place that was taxed me and everything. I paid more putting a property tax on a new car than most people pay on a house. And then you got to pay on the house, then you got to pay the city and the county. And everything you own with wheels on, you got to pay. That's the charge of South Carolina. And the guns of Georgia wasn't that much more less. They had the wheel taxes and everything. So I understand, that people are taxed. That's why people are losing. They never been used to paying taxes. And just a little hint. I'll be honest, a little increase. I can't help but say that. And I know it's not, it's public. But I'm like, really, something got to be done. And we vote on it, what's going to happen? We'll be voting in next time, I guess. Somebody does make the
You have not, you leave your knowledge that you have left it better for the person that's coming in behind. My thing is always, I want to leave something better than the way I say it. You can shake your head no, but that's your opinion, But, you always need to leave something better than
I'd like to say, I'm going to ask you a vote.
Please come to the vote.
Whatsoever.
Say your name.
James Lavelle, I'm sure most of y'all know him. I have actually sent text messages. I got them sitting right here. I would like to see a budget. You asked about how can anybody give you input. How can we? We don't know what the budget is. We have no
budget meetings that you did not attend a single one of them that were advertising.
How hard is it to hand the budget over to somebody that wants to see it? How hard? If you want to have questions about what can you do, show somebody a budget. We don't have the same hard time that you have. The county, school board over there in the county, both their budgets are wide open for us to see. Not in the city. They got one budget. Yeah, and the county commission votes on 2 budgets. Their budget and school board. They have to approve both of them. I heard about small buildings. Like $695,000 for the police department. Don't get me wrong, I think Lexington LPD does a great job. But if you're telling me you lost 7 people, fine. You hired that 7 people that you lost, the new guys back in the same rate. If you're keeping your balance of number of employees, your rate shouldn't go up some. If you're losing people, your rate shouldn't go down. It's frustrating when you can't see where money is being spent. And as citizens, that's all we want. We want to see where our money is going and what we're getting for it. And we don't see that. It's constant local government for this lack of transparency. And that's all we want.
You know, if you want our input, if you want people to attend meetings, share the information with us so we know what we're talking about when we come up here to approach.
So, can I
help us out?
So, One Stop You, 731-968-6657, Mr. Wood, can I see a copy of the budget?
Well, I figured I keep hearing about all the aldermen survey. So I called Alderman. Figured he's one person dealing with one thing. I figured if I can talk to an alderman and ask that same question, what's the difference? What's it right in front of you? Your budget.
Oh.
Your budget's sitting right there. How hard is that? No. You no longer have wards. No one alderman serves one section of people. All the aldermen serve everybody. And granted, I'm not a resident of Lexington, but I am a business owner. The fact is, I should be able to contact any alderman and get the same information I can get from coach. And it's a lot less work on him for just to get that information out. I mean, you ask for people to be involved. We're trying to get involved, and it's like right now I'm still meeting resistance on why it's so hard to get a copy of the budget.
Why did you not come to the 5 budget meetings we had?
Because probably I was going to city meetings, county meetings, Board of Education meetings. In addition, I have a wife. I do not serve on the board. I don't have time to come to one of the meetings. I do the best I can so I can bring them information. But that's not my job. I'm just a Joe Blow citizen. It's not my job to share with them everything that's going on. I'm looking at a sea of red here. And I know what these people are here for. You guys are upset. They don't know what's going on. Nobody's telling them anything. No, there is a lack of transparency that needs to change. With this board, with the county commission, with the school board, it needs to get fixed. You got the right to. Yeah, I did. Oh, pardon. One more cuss word in your eye. That's fine. I said, excuse me. But the bottom line is, how is it pot stirring to come up in here and ask you to have the same information so we can see what's going on? Again, you tell me to go to my commission, my alderman, I go to my alderman, and now I'm told I need to do something else.
So let me address that. As an alderman, he called me, can I get a copy of the budget? Can I give him a copy of all the documents?
You gotta realize this is not an approved budget.
I'm telling you right here, you called me when you want a budget, I've asked. I'm gonna send you what I have.
Thank you.
And that's all we're asking for. That's all. And I've been sending texts.
I mean, you can ask me, and I didn't finish because I didn't know what I should.
What? And that's the thing.
And I'm not saying that you give information quickly a little bit, but.
Well, sure I do. I'll admit to that. Because they don't get the facts.
I don't want to be involved in all that. But you don't get it twisted. I'm not going all that. I'm just saying that going forward, I'm willing to be your point of contact. And you can hold me accountable.
That's fine, but it shouldn't just be, it should be everyone else.
They can't, what I'm saying.
And I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. That's all I really got to say.
Go ahead. Edward? Yes, sir. Podium and stage next, sir.
Yeah, sure. My name is Andrew Amber, and I'm a relatively new resident of Lexington. Been here for about 4 years. You expressed your appreciation for everyone showing up earlier today, and then asked why some people haven't shown up. I'm here risking my life right now. I just got here after a 10-hour road trip. I left my wife with 3 kids, 2 dogs, a dirty house. So I might need one of your officers to escort me home. But honestly, I don't want to be here. And honestly, the reason that I'm not typically here and don't want to be here is because you guys are here, and we vote for you to come here and be here in our stead. That's ultimately representative government, to take care of things the way it's supposed to be taken care of. That's why we're not here. Yeah, that's why we haven't been the last 5. That's why I haven't been here the last 5. Because I expect you guys to do the right thing. That's what we vote you in for. We expect you guys to vote correctly and act correctly. And if you see a lot of people here, then it means there's something wrong. It's a good thing that we're being involved, I suppose. But it means there's something wrong because we're concerned. And in this case, I think we have reason to be concerned. Because we're not talking about a small tax increase here. It's massive. It's shocking to a lot of people's budgets, mine included. So, I had a lot of